Hello, ladies and germs. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. It is Saturday, July the 26th. It is 3 p.m. in the afternoon, my time. We are going to work on a clock today. We're going to design it in Lightburn, and I've been cutting it out since I started this morning. In fact, these are the last pieces cutting now. So not only will we go through the design process, but if there's still people here and interested, I'll go through the assembly part of it too. But I worked on this design on and off all week. I was going to do not an inlay because I was planning on using individual pieces and then putting them together like a great big old jigsaw puzzle. But that's a whole lot of work. It's not as simple as just cutting it out because your kerf comes into play. And it's not like it comes into play when you're trying to fit together box joints. Because I've got, I think I counted 22 different layers that are affected by the kerf. And as it comes out, if it's just a little bit off in here at the middle, by the time it gets out here, it's way off. And I never found a happy medium. I wasted a ton of material trying to find that right kerf. And I imagine there's probably one of those fancy mathematical equations that help you figure it out. And it just finished. But I don't know what that fancy mathematical equation would be or how to even go about determining what it would be. But you've got, and it's, get this out of the way so you can see that, in fact, let's see if I can do this. Is it not going to work? One more time. Nope. Because I can't pick it up. Well, it is, in fact, I don't even know how many pieces it is. It's a bunch of pieces. You can see it sitting there. And all of those are individual pieces that interlock with, well, they don't even interlock. They just marry up to each other. And as I said, they're working from the outside in. I got into about the last, let's go ahead and shut this off. I got down to about the last 3 layers, and it was just they were too big. They wouldn't fit together. And when I first started doing no kerf, I ended up having great big gaps. It wasn't tight. So, but all the trial and errors, I wasted too much material, and I just said, let's scratch this for right now and come back to it, rethink it. Because I was trying to do it without using a skeletal frame for in between each of the pieces. But I learned that if I was to do a skeletal wireframe in between each of the pieces, then you can get by with adding your one known kerf and everything should fit together with no problem. So I may back up and punt and revisit that idea doing that. But today, after I got just so frustrated with that and wasting so much material, I said, let's do a KISS method. Let's keep it simple, stupid. Come up with a very simplistic way of creating. Thank you, shoeless one. Creating a very simple design that won't require a bunch of a tedious alignment and wasting a bunch of material. So here is the basic concept. I had the drawing only on the thumbnail for this live stream because everything's been on the laser. But this is the one that's going to be the backboard for the clock. That's going to be the clock face. And then I have, and actually to be there like that. This will be 12 o'clock. And then obviously 1 through 11 on there. And in order to be able to mount the clock mechanism, which is, 10, 15 millimeters thick, and I used a mic on this thing and it still don't fit. That's okay. That's the wonderful thing about the Rolly automation laser, because I've got the waist, the template that this came out of, and I know it was in the home position. I can lay that back in the home position on my Rolly, place this back in place, and send it the laser right back out and cut that out again, and it'll be perfect. But I mic'd that, and I even went larger than the mic said it was so that this would fit. And you know what? It might fit if I twist it, but I ain't going to do that. Well, or am I? But in order for this to fit on, in fact, look at there. Is it going? No, it ain't going. In order for this to fit and not be sitting against the wall, I've got legs that sit on it and protrude out to kick it off the wall, making room for this. And then the hours of the face will be positioned on top of those legs. But so I still got a little cutting to do on this, but we're not going to do that right now. We're going to go through the design part of it. And let's see here. This heat expanded the brass. I tell you, it's hot. And then once we get through the clock design, if anybody's got any other questions about designs they're working on, I'll be happy to try and answer those or any of the designs I've got. Let's see here. Looking for, and if there are any newcomers to the channel, and if anybody asks, they join in and they don't know, y'all please share it. If you see the folks during the stream posting just a random number, like why are they posting 2? What's 3 mean? Anytime someone in the stream learns something from the demonstrations that I'm doing with Lightburn, they'll post a number every time they learn something. So if they learn a new trick, they'll put in a 1. Learn a second thing, they'll put in a 2. So if you see the numbers, that's just folks indicating, hey, we've learned a new trick today. And hopefully we'll see some people learning some stuff today. If you have a question about anything that's going on during the design process, post your question in the comments, but post your question with 3 question marks preceding your question. That will make it jump out at me in the stream of chats, and I will be glad to address it. Same thing with the comments. If I'm doing something that you can do quicker or better, unlike a lot of Lightburn users and YouTube creators, I welcome the feedback. I welcome the constructive criticism. We're here to learn. I'm happy to share what I'm doing and teach you, but I am welcome to be taught new tricks. I'm not against learning another way to do something, especially if it makes it easier. I'm all about simple, easy. Keep it simple, stupid. So you got a better way or better suggestion, put some comments in, or 3 exclamation points in there and put your comment in. And I will be stopping periodically through the design process in Lightburn to look for those questions and comments and go from there. So again, I appreciate everybody taking this Saturday to join us for another stream. And I'm going to look through here and see if there's anything immediately I need to address before we jump into Lightburn. Oh, and I did say thank you, Shoeless One. Greatly appreciated. It is, and like I said last week, I'm your dancing monkey, folks. I'm here to help and to teach, but I'm here to get paid. So thank you, Joe. Let's see here. Uh, and and that's an example of what I say about numbers. I'm guessing Greg is doing that for demonstration purposes because we haven't done anything yet. So it's hard to imagine he's learned 10 new things already. Oh yeah, and Jeff says unless we want to be funny, and then they post pie. All right, then turn that off before I scroll down. Dummy. All right. Okay. All right. I don't know what that means, Hannibal. Hannibal made a comment, but I'm a little bit curious. Hannibal Lecter, can we have a moment for the Hulk? Don't. First thing I think of when I see that is Lou Ferrigno died. I hope that's not the case. What's that about, Hannibal? Because that was very. Oh, that Hulk. Gotcha. Yeah, Hulk Hogan. Yeah. I've seen that along with all the others. This week's been rough on celebrities. Woo. Okay, I'm gonna mark this spot. Okay. I'm going to switch this to Lightburn and then switch y'all to Lightburn. And done, and swap. All right. So there's all of my work to create this piece. That's the visual concept of what, of course, minus the clock hands, what I anticipate this to look like when I'm done. And yes, these are different sizes. I played with it a couple of different ways, and this was the idea or the presentation that I liked best. I'm going to show you how I come up with all this. And if you decide, you know what, I don't like having those around or two different sizes, I want them the same way, you can do that because you're going to know how to do this yourself. But the real trick is creating the 3D swirling polygons. And it's not difficult. It took me a little bit to figure out, but I said, there's got to be a simpler way than what I was doing. And eventually I figured it out because that's what I'm looking for. The quickest way possible to accomplish any of this. So the first thing I did was I started with my toolpath. And I'm working with 300 by 300 material. So if I've got a 300 millimeter material, I put that toolpath in the bottom corner of my workspace. And okay, there's my canvas. There's what I'm going to work with. I got to stay within those boundaries. So I get my polygon tool. Now I am using 2.0.01. I have not upgraded beyond that yet. And on the new 2.0, they've changed a few features in Lightburn. And I'm going to turn some of these fans off so I don't feel like I'm competing. Hold on one second here. All right. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but that just helps me a lot. All right. So with the shapes tool, now they've changed the shapes tool to where you no longer have a circle and a polygon and a square. They're all right here together. And thanks to Chris's comment in the previous stream, I now know all you have to do is click on this. You've got this one is this way, and also your Boolean tools have been done this way. They've nested these menus together. So if you click on this and hold it, it will open up the sub menu where you can pick rectangle, ellipse, triangles, pentagons, polygons, octagons, stars, and dual stars. All of these possibilities are right here in the shapes tool. And we want a polygon. So I'm going to come down here and click it. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to unselect the, there we go. And then go back to my polygon. Now I can use my snapping cursor to know when I'm in the middle, right there. And I'm going to hold Shift and Control and draw from the center out as large as I can within the constraints of my material. I never like going all the way to the edge. I always like to leave about a 5mm buffer just in case there's any damage to the edges or any glue oddball stuff around the perimeters. So my width there is 292.8. And if I got 300 by 300, and I could have just drew one and told it to go this size. With my aspect ratio locked, if I want to leave a 5mm buffer on a 300mm part, then I need to make that 290mm. With the aspect ratio locked, that'll draw that down to there. Now, I've got my very first polygon for this optical illusion. How do I get all these other polygons? It's real simple. I'm going to, with this one selected, I'm going to duplicate it. Control D, duplicate. Now that it's duplicated, I'm going to use my less than key to rotate it counterclockwise. And you can see, well, that's too big. But what is its correct size? Well, the correct size is the height of the original. And if you look right here, if you pay attention to these numbers, the width is 290, which is what I set it to be so I could get the maximum of my material, right? Then it tells me my height is this random 251.147. Keep your eyes on these numbers, ladies and germs. I'm just going to come down here and click on the other polygon. But watch these numbers. When I do, they just invert. They switch places. That's all they did. So with that copy and my selected, I've got the copy selected, I'm going to leave my aspect ratio locked, and I'm going to go to the larger number, which is the height, select it, and tell it to be equal to this smaller number. So 251.147, enter. Now I'm going to duplicate it. Control D, rotate it counterclockwise. I got to select it first, rotate it. And now same thing. I'm going to come right back up here, find the width is 251 and the height is 217. I need to invert those. So I'm going to select this and tell it 217.50. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get it down to the small size that I want. I'll go to the larger number and tell it to be the smaller number, 188.361. Duplicate it, rotate it. Go to the larger number, tell it to be the smaller number, 163.125. Oh, 5. Duplicate it, Control D, rotate it. Go to the bigger number, tell it to be the smaller number, 141.27. Control D, duplicate it, select it, rotate it. Bigger number, 122.343. Control D, duplicate it, select it, rotate it. Go to the bigger number, make it smaller, 105.952. Control D, duplicate it, rotate it. It's a little bit monotonous. And it seems like there would be a tool that you could make to do this, but how often or why would you want to do it except for doing what we're doing here? Bigger number, make it smaller number, 91.757, 91.757. Duplicate it, You can copy and paste the odd number, but and if you could do it, you can do it all with the mouse. Let's see here. Control D, duplicate that, select it, rotate it. And then if this is the smaller number up here, copy, paste, enter. And yeah, so if you don't want to type it, you can copy it and paste it. Always another way. And if you copy and paste it, it eliminates the chance of you fat fingering it and screwing it up. But I've with the way my brain is, the stroke riddled brain, I can't think too many things. So I identify the larger number, which is this one, and then I just type in the smaller number, 68.8818. And Control D, duplicate it, rotate it. Bigger number here, 59.598. Control D, duplicate it, rotate it. And bigger number, 59. And there's where it starts getting a little bit tricky because the numbers start getting really closer together. 59 is the bigger one. And it needs to be 51.613, 51.613. Duplicate, rotate. Bigger number, 44.698. And I did, and in fact, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come back up here to my shapes tool, left click and hold it, select the ellipse, come down here, find the center right there, hold shift and control to draw out a circle. I didn't draw out a circle. There we go. Shift and control from the center, draw out a circle. And I know that I need it to be, I went 7 millimeters and it wasn't big enough. So I'm going to tell this one with the aspect ratio locked, 7.5 millimeters. So there's the circle I need for my clock mechanism. So now I know how many of these I can continue to do. Control D, duplicate that, rotate it. Bigger numbers, 44, make it 38.71. Control D, duplicate it, rotate it. 38 needs to be 33.524. Duplicate, rotate. Bigger number, 29.033. Duplicate, rotate. 25.143. Duplicate, rotate. And that's probably going to be sufficient because 25 would be 21.774, 21.774. Because that's where the clock mechanism is going to go. But then there's washers and gaskets. We'll go ahead and do one more. Control D, duplicate, rotate. And it needs to be 18.857. All right. Doing the vector hokey pokey. That's right, Jack. All right. Let's see here. Make sure. I mean, that was real simple. And making sure that nobody had any questions or suggestions on how to make that easier. And like I said, Hannibal said you can copy and paste, and we did. And like I said, it's just another way to do it. There's always another way. You always have other options. Yahoo! Getting dizzy. Well, all right. So mark this spot. All right. And now we need to, before I create the individual pieces to do the swirling, I want to create some division between those pieces. And I'm going to do that with using the offset tool. But I'm not going to just do offset. One, you can't just select the whole thing and tell it to do offset, because it doesn't work. If I select this entire design right here and tell it I want to do an offset out, I want to do both inward and outward of a 1/2 mil, it doesn't give you all of them. It gives you, it does some funky things because the way that they line up and meet one another, Lightburn gets a little bit confused about how to do what to do. So in order to do what I want to do, I have to approach each of those individually. But using the keyboard shortcuts, it's not a big deal to do these individually once you do your first one. But we're not going to do them all the exact same. We're going to do the outermost one different than all the rest. Every one of the duplications will have an inward and outward offset of about a 1/2 mil. Did I say? Yes, right. All of them except for the original will be an inward and outward offset of about a 1/2 mil. The outer piece, I will do an outward offset only, I think, of 1 mil, but we'll see. I remember I had to do something different, and you'll see. I may have just said that completely backwards, but let's go look and see. All right, so obviously this don't work. So cancel that. And if I select, let's come in here and grab this one right here first. And I'm going to come in here to offset. All right, there. See, that first duplication comes to a point on that outermost piece at 1 mil. And in order to keep everything, to keep all the pieces, I think, symmetrical, make sure everything lines up the way I want it to visually, I don't want to just push that all out. I wanted to do that, and I only want it to be a total of 1 mil, so I did a 1/2 mil. And you'll see how that all works out here in a second. Now, I'm doing both inward and outward using corners. I don't really need to select the resulting objects, but I do need to delete the original object, and optimize is fine and say, okay. Now I'm going to come down here and just click on this next one. I do not have to go over here and click offset, make sure that's all the same, delete I don't need to do all that. Once you use your offset tool, and if you want to use the exact same, and I see you comment, but I'll have to look in a minute there, Chris. If you want to create that exact same result on these other items, all you have to do is select it, hold Control, and click on the offset tool. Select the next one, click on the offset tool. I'm holding the Control button the whole time, and just keep selecting the duplicates and doing the offset tool. Holding the Control button the entire time, and select the offset tool. And it repeats the exact same result each time. And once I get done here, I'll look and see what Chris was telling me. Offset, offset, and offset. And then I'm going to come back out here to this one. And this time I'm going to do an offset, and I want to go outward because, and here's why. See how there's this little bit of a bump out right there? Well, I don't want that there. I want that to go away. So if I tell that to go outward only, and because these were inward and outward half a mil, to make this the same size, it needs to be a full mil outward. And say, okay, do not delete the original this time because we're only doing outward and we need to keep that for the inner line. So, okay. So there we go. That I don't think is going to be an issue. We'll see. We'll see. Now, let's see what it was that Chris was telling me. And Chris, you proved my point. I was at dinner yesterday when Chris emailed me to let me know that I had goofed up in the design we did during the Patreon only live stream. I failed to make a change on one of the pieces of the frame. I knew to do that, but I forgot to do it during our design because I messed up on other parts, and that just threw me completely out of the whack. But Chris found it, brought it to my attention, and said, hey, man, this don't work. And so I was fixing it, and I was telling my family I was at dinner with, I said, hey, this is a crazy world, man. Here it is, whatever time it was. I think it was around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I said, I'm sitting here in North Carolina, redneck capital of the world, and I got a guy who's conversing with me in Melbourne, Australia, in real time. Like, it's crazy. And especially when I think I used to spend over $100 a month just to be able to talk to my girlfriend who was 2 hours up the street. It was nuts. But I told my family, I said, here it is. I think it's about a 12-hour time difference. So it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning his time, and he's up working on frames for his wife. I said, but guess what? Tomorrow when I go live, he'll be there. He don't ever sleep. He's always up, and he's always in the live stream. In fact, he's in 3 other live streams right now, in addition to being in this one. And I'm blessed and grateful to call him friend and have him in the stream. So let's see what he has to say. The progressive kerf, if you do concentric circles on a toolpath, then it would be kerf times number of circles to make the adjustments. Okay, and you're referring to trying to do this thing. I follow you, but so cut the first circle, kerf times 1, and second kerf times 2, etc., etc. All right, I'll have to play with that and see. I just about got it right, but it didn't do what I wanted it to do. So we may figure that out. This was a whole lot easier, and it's going to look pretty cool. Is this a new trick in 2.0? No, it is not. That holding the control and just clicking on the offset tool worked even in 1.7. I don't know how long that's been there, but that's been there for a while. Let's see here. Can you select multiple and hold the control and hit the offset? Let's go look. I don't know if it's going to give me the result we wanted, but I'm going to go back a few. All right, there we go. I'm going to go back one more, undo. There we go. And so now I'm going to create that offset, doing both inward and outward, 0.5 mil. Delete the original. So that's exactly what I want, and say, okay. Then Bob's question was, can we select all of these, hold control, and hit the offset tool? Well, it welds them together, and it gives me that little funky thing here that I was trying to avoid on the other. But yes, you can, because it welds. Well, I don't know how that's going to affect my design process because I don't know. Yeah, yes, you can. Is it going to affect how this design was going to go together? I don't know. We're going to find out, because what I'm going to do is I'll leave that there like that temporarily. Actually, you know what? And I tell you guys this all the time, and I try to do it myself. Sometimes I forget. What I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this, put it back the way I had it, so that because I know that this my design process will get me where I want to go. But then I'm going to duplicate it and recreate this right here again and see, because if that will work and will work with the design process, it can save you a lot of click, 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 click. So let's undo. And I'm going to select this entire thing, Control D, and duplicate it and move that over here for a second, and then come back over here and select each of these individually, hold Control, and get the result I know I want. Come on. Because I don't know if what I want to do will work with them already welded together. So that welds all those together. And ultimately, that is what we want. And this actually might be a better way to do it than what I did, but we're going to find out together, because I don't know. All right. So questions. We got Bob's. No, I don't. I didn't have time to go. Steven's asked me, no RC, no RC, no RC in the can of Pepsi, no. I was, well, you seen. I mean, it just finished cutting just prior to, or just after going live. And I've been working on this since 9 o'clock this morning and trying to get it finished before going live. And because I hoped to have had a finished assembled piece to go, lucky what I did. But I didn't. And because I've been here cutting and designing and cutting, I didn't have time to go grab my RC. And this is one of Dad's Pepsis, and so I'm drinking his Pepsi. All right. I've got some, Jeff, but thank you. It's about time to make another RC run, though. I think I've got 3 2-liters left. That I usually buy a month's supply at one time, and we're coming up at the end of the month, so that's about right. I'm just about out of RC, but I'll go make another run and buy an entire month's supply, and I'll be good. All right, now I need to create the swirling triangles. And they're on a separate layer, because I've got these that are going to be just that skeleton to give it some definition, showing you, okay, well, I got all these other triangles, but then these I've got, after I've created the individual triangles, I've gone in and put them on a duplicate layer on with an offset fill. Now I'm curious what I did to create those. I got to get that offset out here, outward 1 mil. Don't delete the original. Say okay. There we go. What's Jack saying here? Can you zoom in and out on? Oh, so it's like, okay, that gets you drunk really quick. All right, quit being silly, Jack. All right, mark my spot. Nope, not 8s. Asterisk. There we go. All right. So what I did to create those, I may have done it the really, really hard way compared to what the result was over here, because they're already created with that, but I don't, that right there is a problem. And if I had either done, and that would be something to look for prior to going too far down that rabbit hole. And I didn't look at it because that I knew was right. And if I had not done an inward and outward, it would not have been overlapping. But let's see here. Seems like I ended up not having that when I was done here. Let's see. Control D, duplicate that for a second. I want to check something. Nope, 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 nope. I'm just checking something. All right. Da, 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 da. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. When drawing all the inners, you copy, and when drawing all the inners, when copy and pasting using smaller number, could you have made? Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's something. But I didn't have. I didn't. Well, in fact, you can see if we look at my result, my finished piece, I didn't have that. So, and right now I've done so much today trying to get ready for this. This part of it right here is eluding me for just a second. Oh, I know what it was. I know what I did. I know what I did. I know what I did. I think if these are grouped and that's grouped, no, wasn't that. Ungroup that, and then that and that. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. My brain has shut down. Don't. And this is where I welcome the y'all, Chris, anybody that, because I just did this, but this is went. That's ungroup that, and I know y'all can't see because I'm just trying to figure out what I did here. That and oh, no, they had to overlap in order for it to do anything. It's not that. It's not that. It's not that. There it is. There. Okay. All right. Switch. So they're ungrouped, and I'm going to grab the two closest pieces, and I'm going to use the Boolean assistant tool to look and see which one. And there it is. If I scroll, I can't scroll out. Scroll out so you can see it. And then the Boolean assistant And with the 2.0, like Chris pointed out the other night, you just click it and hold it. It'll give you all the other options. And I want the assistant. And as I scroll through it, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. But looky there. There's the one I want. And say OK. And it looks like that. And we're going to look at the other piece here in a second. It looks like what Bob pointed out may have actually been the way to go. And no, because see, there it is. See, it got rid of that funky thing that was going on that got created whenever they were welded together. So if I just select the two closest ones there where they intersect, and I'm doing, in fact, let's see which one that is. Because if I go here and use the Boolean assistant, I've got to go do that every time. And that's B subtract A. But I want to do A subtract B. So let's select this one first. That's A. And then hold shift and select this one, and that's B. So A subtract B. And that should be just regular Boolean subtract. And there it is. There it is. So A, select that, subtract B. A, subtract B. And I got too many things selected. A, subtract B. And there, that's giving me my pieces that I'm looking for. A, subtract B. A, subtract B. And the problem, Sharon said if just did it only on the inside, if I had only done it on the inside, remember when I created this right here, that line was in the middle of there. I don't think that doing it on the inside created the necessary overlap that I needed in order to create the pieces. I may be wrong, but there was a reason that I did that. And once I figured I didn't, whatever that reason is, it's gone. But this works, and it gets rid of that point by selecting A, subtract B, and you get left with just that nice strong point there and a straight line there. And you just keep doing that. A, subtract B, all the way in. A, subtract B. And I'm doing this, and I'll show you a trick. Here, I'm clicking on A, holding shift, and then selecting B, and then doing subtract. But you can just do it by dragging. And if I drag and I'm touching the whatever I touch first is A, and then select the second shape, that's B, and then I can just hit subtract. I don't have to hold the shift and select as long as I select the first piece first. So A, B here. So select that first, A, subtract B. All right. Now we're in. We're in. All right. Now let's go to questions, comments, and or suggestions. your two outermost lines did weld. Outermost lines. Right now the outermost lines are actually not done anything with on the outer perimeter yet. I'm glad you pointed that out, if that was what you're talking about. So yeah, these two actually can do the same thing. Just select there and there and subtract. Oh, Control Z. I thought it's not the same thing. Grab those. Let's group them. And then I need to group those and weld those. That's what you're talking about. Yeah. I think that's what you was talking about. And weld. So boom. Nope. You got to subtract. And this is where Boolean assistant comes in real handy, because with all the different pieces and shapes, like, okay, well, is that subtracting it from a shape, or am I welding it to a shape? And depending on how you have them grouped, it is a subtraction or it's a weld. Or so the Boolean, if you don't, like, if you're having a day like I am today, and this is not fully engaging, let the Boolean assistant do the work for you. So undo, Boolean assistant. Is that what I want? Yeah, there's a union. There it is. There's not what I want. There's not what I want. There's not what I want, but there's the one I want. And because of the way I had them grouped, that works. All right. So now I've got everything connected and welded. Please excuse my lack of knowledge in this area, but can't you make I don't know, because you know what? In 3 years of working with Lightburn, you know how many macros I've made and used? I'll give you a guess. Go ahead. That's something that actually might be, Pierre, that might actually be a good subject to think about or look at. And Chris, you're the one to ask that question to. I know you can create macros, but can you create a macro to tell it to do some of these repeated steps? Is that something that's possible? And if so, I might have to get you. Maybe we'll have to do a collab video, and you'll show people in the Hobo Nation how to do that. I've done some, but not for something like that. So, but no, Pierre, never, ever apologize for a lack of knowledge. I don't know, and there ain't nothing there to apologize for. Well, that's how we all learn, is asking questions. So no apologies needed. That's a really good question. Let's see here. And Chris says, I'm thinking it through at the moment. Okay. All right. See, not a dumb question, because now we've even got the Lightburn guru going. It's a head scratcher. It's a good one. I don't know about a deep dive class, because macros aren't hard, but I don't know what all your limitations are with the macros. Like I said, I've only done macros once, and that had to do with the $1.22 setting for when you're doing stainless steel or something like that. So I created a macro so it can just toggle back and forth when I do stainless and not doing stainless. But I ain't done no stainless in so long, I don't even remember what I did. I don't know if it was $1.22, $1.25. Don't remember. Don't know. Squirrel. All right. Now we've got everything welded together. We've got our skeletal design for that. Right now it's on the red layer, but we're going to put all of this on the black layer, because it's actually going to be an engraving, and we're going to engrave it in a line mode. But I need to have my swirls going in. How do you create the swirls? Well, I'm going to go ahead and because here, and actually, because that, no, because this is why that didn't work. It kept those points, and the way I did it, it did not keep the points. So the welding, all of it all together, delete. That could work if and only if you make absolutely sure when you do your initial offsets that it's not going to create an unwanted result when you do that. And that probably wouldn't be difficult to do. So that could save a ton of time as long as you start it correctly to begin with. All right. Now, and this is personal preference. I wanted mine to have the 12 o'clock up here at the top on the highest most point. I didn't want to have 12 o'clock in the middle. So I rotated it and put my 12 up here. Doesn't matter. It's personal preference. What do you like? What do you want? But I rotated that and put my point up top there. And then I also wanted that to be where my vortex started. It was at the 12. Now, currently, some of this stuff is grouped together. I need to select every bit of it and just make sure it's all ungrouped. And now that it's all ungrouped, I'm going to go ahead and select everything that's on that red layer and go ahead and put it on the black layer. Go ahead and do that now, because that's going to be engraved on align mode. Now I need to create a duplicate of my swirling vortex, or I need to create the vortex. And the vortex is just simply stepping in and down clockwise every time you select one. So I'm going to come up here and start, and I'm holding the shift button, and I'm going to select those two where these corner points come together. And I come over here, and that one needs to be one, but to save the time, I'll just come over here and select those two. And so now that corner touches that one, and I need to come over here to these, and then to here, to here, to here, here, there, there, and lastly there. Now, those are all selected. I'm going to do a Control D. I'm going to duplicate those, and I'm going to put them on the 01 layer in fill mode. And now you can see that swirl is and if you've missed one, if you didn't select one, you'll see it. It'll be obvious as can be. In fact, I'll just show you. Let's say I didn't get that one, and I got this one over here I got this one by mistake. And it's like, oh, okay, obvious, it didn't line up. It's not right. So then you just grab the one that you do need, duplicate that one, and put it on the other layer. You don't have to go start all over if it didn't give you your perfect swirl. Now, I'm going with that. I'm like, okay, well, there's one swirl, but I need every other point to be a swirl, and there are 6 points, so I need 3 swirls. So to get the 3 swirls, the easiest way to do this is turn off my black layer. Don't show it at all. Now I can just see those. Select every one of those. Now, if I didn't have anything else on my toolpath or anything else on my workspace, if this, and if you're just starting from scratch, this is the only thing you would have on the 01 toolpath. And if it is the only thing on your workspace or on your Lightburn current design, and that's the only things you have in that O1 layer, you can go over to your layers, hold shift and click on O1, and it will select everything on the O1 layer. So if I turn this back on, and actually, you know what? I'm going to do it for you on something random. I'll put these all on layer 11. I don't have anything on my workspace on layer 11 except for that. So if I turn on the black layer and I'm like, okay, I really only want the green, and I don't want to sit here and go click, click, click. All you got to do is come over here, hold shift, and click on your cuts and layers for the layer you're wanting to select, and it will select everything that's currently on your workspace on that layer. There it is. Yay! But because I had that on my O1 layer, and I have everything or other things on my O1 layer, if I come over here and tell it I want shift O1, well, it's getting all of that, and I don't want all that. So when that's the case, all you simply need to do is turn off whatever you're looking at that you don't want to select and just select it that way. And now I got it. Let's say I'm going to group it, turn my black layer back on. And now I'm going to do a circular array of this. And people get a little bit, they forget that when you're doing a circular array, it doesn't have to be around a circle. In fact, it don't even have to be around anything. You can just do a circular array of one piece. But if you want to do a circular array around the center part, then you select two pieces. But we're going to do a circular array around this 6-sided polygon. So all of that's selected, all of that's all grouped. I'm going to come in here and hold shift and select this outermost piece. And looks like Chris has got us an answer, but we'll go there in a minute. Come back over here to my circular array tool. And I've got way too many copies. So let's go down to 3 copies. And now you can see I've got a point here, no point, a point here, no point, a point, or as far as the swirls. So there gives me my 3 vortexes interlocking, swirling together. And that is cool. And say, okay, I'm done. All right. That ain't hard. What's Chris saying? Nope. Macros won't work. It will currently allow Gerbil commands. Start with $1, yeah, but I can see an argument for adding. Okay, see an argument for adding the ability to use macros and hotkey commands. Yeah, that would be a cool feature to have, and that'll be Pierre. Whenever 2.0 or whenever 2.1 comes out, and we have this ability, you can take and go, see this little feather in my cap? That was me. I suggested that. Now, Chris will get it done for us. But, in fact, and this is where the Lightburn support, the Lightburn forum comes in real handy, guys. Go over to the Lightburn forum and you suggest this ability. There may have already been someone who suggested this exact same thing. And when you go to type in the topic you're looking to see about or suggest, if someone's already done it, it's going to pull that up, and so that people aren't just constantly, you don't have 50 people making the same suggestion. One person starts it and you see, oh, well, you can go look at his suggestion and vote on it and show additional interest. Instead of 50 having one suggestion, you got one person with 50 supporters. So go over to Lightburn support or the Lightburn forum, and there's a place on there for suggested features. Go in there and do that, and that way Pierre can go, that's my flag. I claim that. That was my suggestion. I did it. I've got a few of those. I've made quite a few more that they have not implemented, but I've got a few features in Lightburn that are courtesy of Hobo. All right, so we have, make sure I've got all the questions and comments. See, I love seeing this, guys. I love seeing the fours, people learning more and more stuff. Show and tell, okay? Don't show and tell what, Terry? All right. Looking to see if there's anything that Terry's named me to qualify or to clarify. And no follow-up. All right. So now I need to create the for lack of a better the Lightburn forum. Let's do that after. Bring it up again, Terry, after we do the design. I don't want to get down too many squirrels, but bring it up again after we finish the design. And yes, that's a good idea. Show the forum and how it works. All right. So with the design, like I said, the clock mechanism is going to be mounted on the back of that. And I don't want that being proud and that holding it off the wall. And it looked kind of, so I want to have more support, getting it off the wall, and actually not even have the mechanism sitting or touching the wall. So I said, let's put some legs on it. We'll put, and to do the legs, I needed to have some slots. I haven't cleaned these up yet. So these are my legs that will fit into these slots. I promise they will. I did my kerf really, really well. There we go. And by having that like that, I've got that's going to push it off the wall. Plenty of room for my clock mechanism. And this is elevated with a tab that I'll put the other polygons on that'll have the numbers on them. Why are they that tall? I don't know. That's just what I did. I wanted to have some depth to it. I didn't want it just to be a 3mm piece of material. So when it's on the wall, I think it'd just look better if those are out there and proud. But also, when designing these, I wanted those completely hidden. I don't want to see any part of that profile once I put the polygon on top of it. So the polygon that sits on top of this is as large in diameter as this is wide. So it's completely hidden. So that was the thought process on putting it together. So now I need to put in my slots, design my legs, and that's pretty much the rest of the design. So there's a trick, though, with the polygon and using the circular array to do the slots around the perimeter. And then plus, we're going to look at why did I use two different size polygons for my hours? And you may elect not to do that, or you may say, yeah, I kind of like that too. So let's move on with the design. First, the slots. And let's see here. Got comments before I move on. Comments. Chris says, someone has added this and will do what. Some days I read better than others. Someone has added this and will do what we are talking about in the Lightburn feature suggestions, search and vote for. I would like a repeat last operation key button. Okay, so I'll show that whenever I go to show the forum and how to look to see if anybody's got that. So, okay. So if you're still here when we get there, Chris, if I forget, remind me. I'll pull that up and show it exactly like that. Marking my spot. and back to Lightburn. Okay. So I've got this piece. This is 12 o'clock. And each point is going to be an hour on the clock. That's why I did a polygon. And I just now realized I could have taken this polygon, the outermost polygon, and this just now dawned on me. I could have done this. I don't know how to look. Take that, duplicate it, Control D, duplicate that, and then rotate it. That wouldn't have looked. You'd had to done something fun. That wouldn't have looked as good. That loses something on the swirl. I was looking there, but that would give my numbers 12 through or 1 through 12 kind of an equal. Not really. Never mind. Forget that. All right. Squirrel. I need to put my slots in. So let's go over here. I need to get a rectangle, but I'm showing an ellipse. What do? Click the left button and hold it. Thank you, Chris, for telling me. And rectangle. Now I've got my rectangle selected. I'm going to draw a rectangle out. And if you notice, my selector went back to the selector automatically. I'm starting to get a little bit more comfortable using it this way. Put that on a cut path. And if you're not familiar with that ability in 2.0, if you go to your gears, default is cut. No, where is it? There it is. Switch to select mode after drawing a shape. That's the new option in 2.0. I think it was 2.0. I don't think it was there in 1.7. Switch to select mode after drawing a shape. If you turn that on, once you draw a shape, it goes right immediately back to the selector tool. All right. There, I need this to be 3 millimeters. And how big does it need to be? I don't know. It needs to be about half the distance of the width of the leg. Well, how big is the leg? I don't know. Why don't I know? Because I don't know how big I'm going to make the polygons for the numbers. So I need to put the polygons for the numbers out there. And like there, I need to get an idea how big I'm going to have those, so I know how big, what, because those rectangles, those slots are going to be half of the height of that polygon, give or take. So I'm going to come back down here, and I'm going to come back to my shapes tool, left click, hold it, find my polygon, and come over here, and I'm going to go right on the top, and I'm going to hold shift and control and draw out a polygon. And I'm say, I don't know. Right now I'm just eyeballing it, say right about there. But I don't want it positioned that way. I want it rotated with the other polygon. So using my less than button, I'll rotate it one time. Okay, well, we'll just look at that and see what that looks like. So if that is the height of my hours for the ones on the points there, and it has a height of, in fact, we'll do, just for the heck of it, I'll do even numbers. I'm going to aspect ratio locked, anchor point in the middle, because I drew it from that center point. If I put my anchor point, if the anchor point was in any other place and I changed this by half, it just pulled it way out of place. Control Z, put your anchor point in the middle. And if you even divided it by half, it just shrinks it down to the center. Now, I don't want it to be half, but I am going with the aspect ratio locked. Just tell it to be an even 50 mil. There we go. So if that's going to be the size of that polygon, right about 2 inches, 50 mil, then I know that, and I also want that leg to be completely hidden behind this. So the leg, I'm going to say, is going to be probably no bigger than, if I do at least a 3 mil inward offset on each side, that's 6, it's no more than 44. And so if the whole thing is no more than 44 wide, then this is only going to be about 22 mil height. I'm going to unlock the aspect ratio and tell it to do 22 mil. Anybody lost? Did that confuse the heck out of anybody? Is everybody still with me? Did you follow that redneck reasoning? If anybody's lost, speak now or forever hold your peace. All right. So I determined what size I wanted the polygon to be. I subtracted enough buffer so that it's all hidden behind the polygon, and then divide that in half, because that's the size of the slot that needs to interlock with the clock face. I'll use that same 22 millimeter slot on the face of the clock and on the leg, so when they slide together, everything's centered up. Easy peasy. So now I'm going to take that and just move it up here for a second, because I've said that's going to be my 50 mil piece. I'm going to use my snapping cursors. If you haven't seen the video on snapping cursors, go watch it. Because if I come over here and I go right there, I find that line with the circle through it. That's the middle point of that. I can grab that and drag it and bring it right over here until I get that. My crosshairs with 4 lines, that is perfectly centered on the top of that piece. Everything's lined up exactly where it needs to be. Now, this is where it gets tricky with the polygon and the circular array tool. With where this is positioned on the outermost piece at the point, when I go to do circular array, on those 6 points on the furthest most perimeter, they're going to be exactly where I want them to be. The ones that are inside, they're not going to line up. So this is how we address that. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if I come down here, I've got that selected. That's where I want it to be. And I select my outermost polygon and do the circular array. And if I was to tell it to do 12 copies for every hour, see how these are, they're not going to do anything, but these are where they need to be. So I'm not going to bother doing 12 of them. I'm only going to do the 6. And that puts them on those 6 outermost points. And I'm going to group the results and say, actually, before I do that, I'm going to say cancel, because I need a duplicate. I'm going to grab that and duplicate it. Control D, duplicate it, and move it over here out the way for a second. And now select it again. Hold Shift, select the outermost polygon, circular array, and I want 6 copies, and group the results and say OK. Now I've got those 6 slots in place. I've got my template for my slot that I'm going to need for my legs, and I need it again for the other remaining 6 pieces. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to rotate it. Oh, too many times. There we go. I'll do the same thing. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to grab there in the very center where I've got my line through my cursor, my snapping cursor there. And then I'm going to come down here to that line and find that same emblem again. And that tells me I'm right in the center again. Now, here is where things got a little bit tricky. See how much further this is sticking in than this is sticking in? If I pull one of my tool paths down here, guidelines, snap it to that corner, see that's a lot longer, and it's going to stick in further on the clock face than these will. And this is where I decided to go with a different size on the polygons around the outer, on the flat line of the clock. And so I just took, and if this was 22 millimeters, if I just start drawing that up to where, and actually, if I even just took it right to that exact same spot, right about there, give or take, that's going to give it the same distance in from the outer perimeter as those. And that's 19.8. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to give myself a little extra buffer. We'll say change the anchor point this time. I've got it centered up here on this outer perimeter. So if I put my anchor point up here at the center top, that's going to keep that in position, and I'm going to change my height to 18 mil. And before I do that, controls, well, that's all right. I can do it. I'm going to take that, duplicate that, Control D, duplicate it, bring it up here, and I'm going to duplicate one of these over here. Again, they're grouped, so I have to ungroup them. And duplicate that and bring it up here, rotate it. There we go. All right. Now select this one, hold shift and select the outermost polygon, circular array. I need 6 of them. Say okay. Done. All right. Now I've got my slots all in place where they need to be, except I need to cut them out. And I'm going to make you aware of something that I didn't catch when I first started doing this, or when I did mine. I knew that I was going to use the offset fill for the engraving for those swirls. And I'm going to do the offset fill for 2 reasons. 1, I like the way it looks. 2, to cut down on the engraving time immensely. Huge savings in time. I don't need to have that completely filled. You can. It's just going to take you a long time to do that. And I'm going to show you on the screen, but that gives you enough of a contrast. And when I put the finish on this, it's going to pop even more. But when we look at this in the preview, let's get rid of that guy. I'm in offset fill, and let's go look at the preview. So I want to show you this before and after, and this is before I do anything with the slots. In fact, let's turn the slots off. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to tell it, do not output the cut line, and preview it. There we go. Now, when we look at that, I've got it set up to do, I think it's I've got it on a 1 millimeter line interval. So it's going to engrave every millimeter. It's going to engrave a line, and then come over here and do this. And it creates a unique pattern because it starts, I think it'll start at the center and then just go out from a millimeter, out a millimeter, out a millimeter, and just continue to do that until it fills the whole thing. And you get this really neat, to me, that gives it almost the illusion of each one of the triangles having its own vortex. So it's almost multiple vortexes creating the big vortex. But here's where I messed up when I did the piece that I did trying to get done before we went live. I cut my slots out, and I cut my slots out of both the outer cut, which you've got to do, but I also cut the slots out of the layers with the offset fill. And here comes a fire truck. when you use the slots, when you cut the slots out of the offset fill, it's going to change the output drastically. And I want to show you that so that whenever you get down and you're like, wait a minute, that ain't what I want it to look like. Well, this is how you can prevent those things. So if you want to have this like that, then you don't want to do this. Let's turn that back on. And I'm going to turn the black layer off. In fact, I'm going to turn the blue layer off. I'm going to grab all of my clock and we're going to group those. Now I'm going to use these as my cookie cutter. And what do you have to do? What happens to your cookie cutter when you use your cookie cutter to cut shapes? It goes away. You get to use it one time, and once you do, it's disposable. It's not recyclable. It's gone. It just disappears. It's like a paper straw that you have to use in California. It's good for nothing anymore. So I've grouped all those together, and now I'm going to duplicate them. I'm going to Control D, duplicate. Now I'm going to turn my toolpath or my offset fill back on. And if is all that, yeah, that's all grouped. So I've got all of my offset tool or my offset path, fill path. Hold shift, and I'm going to select those slots, and I'm going to use my subtract tool, and that cuts out the engraving. So now I've got my slots cut out, but watch what happens to my engraving now. Preview. It gives you an entirely different result because it's going to, the offset fill is going, and I don't know if it starts on the outside and comes in. You know what? Let's go look. That's what preview's for. Come over here to my preview screen and roll it back. And let's zoom in here. It looks like it starts from the inside and comes out. So it starts at the inside and steps its way out and fills that triangle until you're done. But now let's get over to, there we go, to that one. Because this one has got the slot in the middle for that engraving. Where's my speed? Let's do this at there. 2 times speed, hit play. All right. Instead of filling the entire triangle, that slot interrupts the rhythm of that laser. And let's bump up the speed. There we go. And it gives you a different result. And this is the problem that some people talk about offset fill. They say, oh, some folks don't like offset fill because they say, oh, I get an unwanted result. Well, if we look here, because of that slot and the way that it did that, that's more than a millimeter gap because it don't match up with the rest of them. But because of the way that's the result of that slot. If that slot wasn't there, it had just started in the middle and gave you a 1 millimeter outward offset fill, and everything would have been uniform and looked fine. But that doesn't look bad either. It's just a different result. And also, I did this at a 1 millimeter line interval. If I come in here, I'm sorry, I did it at a 0.5 millimeter line interval. Let's do it at a 0.33 and say okay. And now go to preview and let's go to that one. Come on. And play, 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 play. You can see it's still a little, they don't line up. It's closer. But if you use your preview before you're doing your engravings, if you're wanting to use offset fill, but you find something it's going to create a large gap that you don't want, play with your line intervals and look at your previews until you find, okay, I like that. That does look more uniform. Or in this case, don't cut your slots out of your engraving. Let it just, even though it's going to be cut out, and don't worry about it. It'll keep your engraving uniform. Yeah, don't do the cutout. Put the cuts on the slots on a different layer, and yeah, don't just the cuts are going to be on a different layer anyway. They're going to be, for me, they're on my red layer. The blue is going to be on the offset fill. Just simply don't use the cookie cutter to cut those slots out of the blue layer. It'll continue to do the engraving, and then when you go to cut the slots out, it just cuts it out. No big deal. But before you worry about it too much, look at this. Let's turn these back on. Let's grab this and bring it down to there. And actually, I don't want to do that. I lied. I'm going to take this, rotate it. There we go. Rotate it again. I'm back too far. There, that's what I want. Now, grab this, put it right there in the center. And let's put it, well, we'll leave that there for now. No, actually, I'm gonna put it on something different and put it really full field so you can see what I'm wanting to show. There you go. And make sure I've got it. It's gonna appear right. All right, now, when I look at the preview, this is the top piece that's going to be proud sitting on top of the leg. So a lot of that is going to be covered up and hidden anyway. So you're not going to see, some of that lack of uniformity or whatever you. So since we're putting that on the leg and it's covering it up, I said, you know what? I kind of like that. That's fine. But if you want to be a stickler and you want to make sure that the symmetry is exactly the same, do just like Bob said. Do not cookie cut your slot out of your engraving. Let it engrave and then just cut that piece out. And then you're going to have your uniformity all the way around that perimeter of your engraving. If you do the offset fill, and if you do the line interval, okay. Any questions before we move on? Chris says for later, ability to create a macro that includes hotkeys. All right. Questions and comments. Dale says, I stay lost. Yeah, well, I'll look for you when I'm bouncing around in the trees. All right. And yeah, and I am one of the worst when it comes to this self-promotion. But yeah, 3 Rusty Nails hit it on the head. Head and a nail. If you're liking what you're seeing, guys, make sure you hit that like button. I'm showing you how to create this piece. I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to have this design for sale on my website. But I'm showing you step by step how to do this yourself so you don't have to go to the website and pay for it. Ain't too many other creators that do that. And that's also why my videos are longer than most everybody else's, because I'm showing you every single step with multiple options along the way. So, and I love it. Russ was one of the first ones to tell me, but many of you have said it. I have taught you how to fish, so if you like what you're seeing, hit that like and share, but even more so, go over to patreon.com/hobowithwood and consider being a patron and support this channel. You don't need to buy every one of my designs. Just go in and sign up. And if you go in and sign up for a gold patron, $20 a month. It's less than $1 a day, less than a cup of coffee. You get all of my digital files available for free. I don't want you downloading $1,000 of them after you put a $20 sponsorship up. That's why it's throttled. You can't do that anymore. But go gold, patreon.com/hobowithwood. And we put that up here because I am terrible about self-promotion and I really should do better. Patreon, there we go. Patreon.com/hobowithwood. $20 a month. You're not going to miss it. But if everybody does it, I sure appreciate it. All right. So now with that, so y'all see that, right? Patreon.com/hobowithwood. I'll turn that off now because it gets in the way of me showing you what I need to show you. And that's really what I want to do. I want to keep, I don't want my self-promotions to be a way of not seeing what I'm trying to teach you. So switch back. All right. So now you can see that if you're not careful, you can spend a whole lot of time worrying about something and only to find out that it didn't matter. You're going to cover it up anyway. So let's put that up there out of the way. And I'm going to leave this as it is with those cut out of the blue layer. But now I've got this going on with these other pieces, and I don't have it on I don't have a perimeter cut yet. So I need to take this, that's the outermost piece. I need to duplicate it, Control D, duplicate that, put that duplicate on the red layer, my cut layer. And I'm going to turn everything else off so I can see what I got. I'm going to turn off the black layer and I'm going to turn off my offset fill. And there we go. So there is my my cut layer or my cut line. So I need to, let's see, do I have these grouped? Yes, they are. So this is real simple. This is a solid piece of 3mm Baltic birch. And I need to cut out those slots. So I need to subtract those slots. So that's A, that's my first piece. Hold shift and then select my slots. And that's the subtract tool. A, subtract B. And that will give me my slots around the perimeter, except there it wasn't lined up. It didn't do it. Didn't do it there. A few places it missed. So what do I do in those cases? I undo. And just for giggles, because I'm not going to keep up with where they're all at, I'm going to ungroup those. They're all ungrouped. And now, if I select my outer perimeter first and then the cut path, drag there, I got my first piece, then grab my next piece and subtract. That's good. Come over here. Same thing. I want to select my outer piece first. That means it's got to be green. There we go, like that. And when I do the subtract, oh, that's not the one I wanted. That's okay. Hit undo, Control Z or your undo button, and just hit it again. And that's the one I wanted. So A, subtract B. That's right. So A, subtract B. That's not right. So I need to ungroup. I'm like, okay, that's not right. So I'm going to leave that alone because that's at an odd angle. How do I fix? Well, we're going to fix that in a second. But there's A subtract B. A subtract B. That don't work. So Control Z. Subtract that one. Come on. A subtract B. That's good. That's good. And A subtract B. And I don't think that one worked, but we'll try it. A subtract B. No, that one didn't work. So undo. All right. Everything that would subtract is done, but a few of them didn't. Well, and because these are at an odd angle, you can't just drag them and pull them up there. But if I select everything and rotate it again, I need to do half a rotation to there. Nope. Control. There we go. So, and this may be something you guys know or don't know. The less than and greater than key are your shortcut, your keyboard shortcuts for rotation. I've got that entire piece selected, and if I do the less than, it's going to rotate it counterclockwise. Greater than's rotating it clockwise. If I hold shift, it will rotate it 22.5 degrees. Rotating it, 45, because rotating it with just the less than, I think rotates at 90. Hold shift, rotates at 45. Hold control, and it rotates at 22.5. So there's nothing, holding shift, holding control. And I want to get it to where this is on that 90-degree scan or 0-degree scan. So holding control and my less than, there we go. Now that I've got that in position, I can just drag that up there and just say A, subtract that, and I'm good. And I ain't worried about my toolpath right now. A's, and actually I need to make that bigger because it didn't intersect. Drag it over it and just say A, subtract that. Where, oh, where are you at? There it is. There we go. And draw that one up and then just subtract it. A, subtract B. Now, is there another way of doing that? Yes. Is there maybe a faster way to do that? Probably, maybe. But I like showing you guys multiple ways to do things. All right, let's see here. Questions and questions and questions. All right, Chris says he's got something for us later. Yeah, we got that. Make a sign to put behind me. Yeah, I just, and Scott's talking about put a sign behind me about, I can do that up here with the digital stuff. And I really hate to do that self-promotion stuff. I promote the channel as learn how to fish, not watch someone catching fish. Yep. Yeah, this is I like to say and proudly say, this is the channel you come to if you want to learn. You want to watch somebody, you want to be entertained and just, well, they try to entertain you anyway, then go watch somebody else. You want to be yelled at, go watch somebody else. You want to learn how to do something, you're in the right spot. will adding a tolerance button to the weld solve this problem of yes, because you know it happens all the time, Chris. It happens all the time when you're doing, even when you're just doing something as simple as slots and tabs on a regular box, a regular square, and you tell it to align all the way to the left or all the way to the right, and then you tell it to subtract, it don't always get them all. You know that, right? Don't you encounter that? So yeah, if you had a tolerance button like you do with the slots and tabs resize tool, that, and I don't even know if you do you need to have a button to do that, or can you just program that in so that it's, I don't know which would be best. I don't know if you just said, okay, there was a built-in tolerance, but that might be bad. I don't. So yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. All right. So where are we? I'm going to mark my spot, and we're going to realign everything. That's selected, holding control, rotate. There we go. All right. So now this is my 12 o'clock position. And you know what? Let's see what, I didn't even think about this, but it should be good. Turn everything back on there because I put everything back in its original spot. All right. So that should be good. Now I need to create my legs. All right. Well, how big are my legs going to be? Depends on how much pizza I eat. No, I need to determine the width of the leg. I want to keep it hidden behind my numbers. And then I need to figure out the height of the leg. Now the height of the leg, how tall do I want the entire leg to be, is two measurements. One, how thick is my clock mechanism? If my clock mechanism is 8 millimeters and I don't want it touching the wall, and you allow for some irregularities, anything with the wall, then you give yourself another 3 to 4 millimeters. Say, okay, well, I need at least 12 millimeters on the backside. Okay. How high or how tall do I want my numbers to be off? That's totally up to you. That's subjective, and maybe you don't want it to be hardly raised at all. You want it right on the surface or practically on the surface. And also, because I want to have the numbers on a solid polygon, I'm actually got two polygons. I've got one that's got a slot in it that's going to snap onto the leg. And then I do an offset of that one that's a solid piece that I engrave the numbers on. So even if you were to do it to where they were as close to the surface as possible, the number is still going to be, if you're using 3 mil material, your number is still going to be 6 mil off the surface. So just how big do you want it to be? How tall do you want it to be? It is completely subjective, totally up to you. The one thing that is crucial is how far where do you want to put the slot in relation to the back, positioning it off the wall, giving you clearance for the clock mech, because that's the whole reason you're doing it, is to give you clearance for the clock mechanism. And I also like the look of it. So I'm going to draw out a rectangle, hold and rectangle tool. I'm just going over here and I'm going to draw any old rectangle because I don't know what size any of it needs to be. Here, if I select this polygon, I said 50 was going to be the height of that one. And if that's going to be the height of that one from here to here, the leg needs to be hidden behind it. And I said I was going to make that one then 44 mil, because this is going to sit on top of that, and that'll be hidden at 44 mil. And that was the larger one. So we're going to rotate that one that way. And if I wanted to have this 12 millimeters off the bottom, then I'm going to snap it right there, lined right up to the bottom. And then just for giggles, I'm going to do it by using my move arrow and just say arrow move is going to be 12 mil and okay. So just arrow up 12 mil. And then that should give me the clearance I need for my clock mechanism to be back here and off the wall. So now it's how tall do I want it to be? Well, if I want it to be an inch off the top, be lazy and cut a hole in the wall for the clock. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no. All right. I'm gonna duplicate this. I'm gonna say Control D, duplicate that. And then if I want that to be or say 1.5 inches, then I'm going to come over here back to my move tab again and say 25, say 37 mil, and use my arrow tab to move up 37 mil. Now that would be the height of my piece. And if I want to, I can just say, draw that there and there. So I'm just using this as a cut tool, which I could do. I could use, in fact, just for the heck of it, we ain't used our scissors yet today. Let's use the scissors. Come over here and grab our scissors and go running around the room everywhere, especially after getting dizzy. And I'm going to say, I don't want that, or that. And so now I've got the height of my leg. But I just thought of something. You know what? This whole thing is full of polygons. The polygon face, the polygon here. Why not make this somewhat polygon shaped? Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hold my left button, come and grab my polygon tool. And then come in here. And I don't need to worry about being centered because I'm going to be stretching this one. I'm going to, we'll draw it from here. There we go. And let's put that in the center of that. And how tall is that? That is a height of 49. So let's tell this to be 49. It was 44 wide and 49. There we go. And I didn't have my anchor point in the right spot, so it moved it in the wrong direction, but we'll just center it back up. All right. So if that's that, I can get rid of that. And then I'm going to take and I'll subtract that from that. So A subtract B. And that will give me a leg that'll slide on there where I want it to be. And a tab. Hold rectangle. Needs to be 3 high. But how wide? I don't know. Grab my measurement tool. How wide is this? It's 22 millimeters. So if I want that to be about a third of that, we'll just make it 7. So we'll say 7 mil is the total width. And then grab my snapping cursor right there and snap it to the matching right there. Hold shift, select that, weld them together. There we go. So that was 7 by 3. I'll need to, and if this is the piece that's going to snap onto that, then I need a 7 by 3 rectangle again. Put it in the middle. Oh, not cap button, shift. That and that, bullseye it. Then I want to come in here to this one and do an inward offset of 3 mil and say okay. So now this is the piece that's going to be engraved with the number on it for 12. group those. That is going to be the piece that snaps on top of that leg, and it's wide enough. And I could even, now that I put that in there, sure, it looks like I might need to shrink that down. Oh, you know what? That's because that's 50 tall, but it's only 43 wide. So when I put that in there, yeah, it was 40. That won't work. So that needs to be more narrow. And if I just shrink this in, holding the control button, it also changes the size of my slot, which is okay if you resize that slot, but it also changes that. So Control Z, undo that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up here to my polygon. I'm going to start right here and get my, there we go, and draw down to here. And it didn't give me exactly what I thought it would do. Hold Shift and draw it out. Hold Control. And how wide was that? That was 43, and I want it to be 6 less than that, so 37. So this needs to be about 37, and that's where I'm at, 37.2. Unlocked aspect ratio 37. There we go. Now it needed to be, how tall did I go? That was including the 3 mil, so it's 49. So let's make that with the anchor point in the middle 49. And now bullseye that in the middle of, well, no, I'm going to align it to the bottom and the center. Now I'm going to use some scissor tools again. I'm going to come here to my scissor tools and I'll cut. I don't want to cut that away. I want to cut that away. And it's going to cut away my tab too, but that's okay. Cut that away, and cut that away, and that. There's that. Now I can just come in here, grab my, ungroup that, grab that, Control D, duplicate it, rotate it, drag it over here, find my snapping cursor right there, and find the matching snapping cursor right there, and weld those together. Now that's better. Group those back together, and now when that's rotated and that sits on top of there like that, you can see it's hiding that leg. It's all hidden pretty well. Oh, so I make mistakes all the time. All right. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? I'm marking this spot. We about got this thing finished. All right. Here is why I did the different size on the numbers. Let's turn off the blue layer. Turn off the black layer. All right. This, we're going to rotate that back to where it was. And I'm going to bring that down here. Let's put it right in the center. There we go. So that's going to be approximately right there. And if I take that, hold Shift, and just do a circular array of all 12 pieces. Like I said, you've got these that are sticking way off the board, so you can't do that. So let's do 6 pieces, and that puts them in the right spot. Say okay. And those the group. In fact, before I do that, because it's going to group them, I'm just going to go ahead and create a duplicate. Control D, duplicate that because I'm going to need it. And now do the circular array there and there. Circular array 6 times, group the results, say OK. Now let's rotate this thing. And if I bring this and then put it in the center like that, and now I do the same thing and do my 6 in my circular array, say OK. This was I didn't like the way that in fact, you can see it there, that toolpath. Here, these are inside the toolpath, but this one sticks out past the toolpath. And I didn't want to do that. And I also didn't want to have, if I come down here to right there, you see it's sticking inside. That, you know, it's just it's too big. And so what I did was, I actually, if I select, well, those are all grouped. So you can do this a couple of ways. I needed to know the height of that. And since they're grouped, I can't see just that. But with that toolpath snap there and that one there, if I select these 2 toolpaths, I can see that it's got a height of 43.301 inches or millimeters, 43.3 millimeters. So if I take that and I ungroup it from all of that and select just that one and tell it aspect ratio locked, the height, now there it is up there, 43.301, because it's when you rotate them, they switch positions. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to make that 50 mil 43.301, 43.301. And then if I put that, and I didn't ungroup it, I thought I ungrouped it. I didn't ungroup it far enough, is what I did. There we go. 43.301. And then group those back together. Grab the center right there, right there. Still a little proud there, but it's got room to come in here. So I took that and say align to the bottom. Well, those are all grouped, so I got to ungroup them. Or I can just say align that to that. Will that work? That'll work. So now it's inside there, it's inside here, but it's a little bit smaller. You may be fine just the way it was. Don't know. But that's why I did what I did when I did what I did. Your logic / method of editing SVG images is scarily similar to mine. Don't think we'll be winning any prizes soon, but it works. Yeah, there's always another way. And Led Zeppelin, I tell people all the time, I say it constantly, right brain and left brain people don't think the same. Artistic people, analytical people don't think the same. Engineering, it's how you get there don't matter. If I tell you we're going to dinner and I'm buying, I don't care if you follow me or not. If you don't show up, you don't get there, you don't get to eat. But if you'll get there, you get the free food. No matter how you get there, we both arrive at the same destination. All right. So now that's how I got the different size pieces, the different size polygons. If you do the different size polygons, you need to do another offset of the smaller ones to do the engraving for those. And Trying to think. I'm going to challenge myself, and I'm going to challenge the Rolly. I needed to do this anyway. All clean drops. All my slots, clean drops, every one of them. All right. Just cleaning my work bed off because I need to put this back on the laser bed. So, in order to do this, I didn't do what I did so I can do what I'm doing now. But I created toolpath on my work area, my 300 by 300 toolpath. That's whether this was 301.33, whatever. I put a 300 by 300 toolpath on my work area, and I start designing from there. But when I design, like on this piece here, I put it in the center area of my 300 by 300 toolpath. And I put this in the home position and cut everything out. So if this is 300 by 300, as they advertise it is, and actually I can tell by looking at this, because I've engraved enough to know that this was the bottom, because I got the flare ups. That's the bottom. You don't have any flashes or flare ups on the face of it. So this was the face of it. So I got a 1 in 4 chance that if this was off a little bit, if it's not perfect 300 by 300, that will be the only reason why I won't get a perfect recut, because I didn't mark my position as being top left corner. But these I feel are precision enough, and the Rolly is definitely precision enough that I should be able to lay this back in the home position. Take this, lay it back in the place, in the piece, but I'm going to do something different. I'm going to put my name on here, and I'm going to recut that center hole, and I want the name on the back. And because your laser does have a slight taper to your cut, I am going to flip this so I get a nice fit back with my piece. Put this face down, and I'm looking at, I'm even crazy about looking at the grain of this. I've got a little imperfection right here. It's a knot in the wood. I want to put my name on here, and the grain, you can see the grain there. The grain's running this way. I'm going to engrave my name there instead of doing it here and going against the grain. It's just aesthetics. So I want my name here, away from that there. So that's how that goes back in there. And honestly, if I take a look, I could match the grain up, which I am. If I match the grain up, then I know there we go. The grain's aligned. I've got the back up because I flipped my piece. Now, let's see if the laser homes like it's supposed to. I've got mine set up in the Lightburn. I power it up. She should just home immediately. But in 2.0, I don't think it's going to work. It ain't working. There's something funky with the communications in 2.0 with my laser, that in order for me to get this to go to home like it's supposed to, and I'll see your comments in just a second there, I have to go into Lightburn, go to the laser tab, and then right click on the devices. Because if you look up here, it says the laser's busy. Laser's busy. I've got the right COM port, but if I right click here, you can see it reset, disconnected, and ready. And then I've reestablished communications, and now it's homing. So if you're having any communication issues with your laser using 2.0, sometimes it's just a matter of just resetting your machine by right-clicking on the devices in the laser tab. Never had to do that until 2.0. All right, now that's rehomed. It's in position. And I've got my original. Let's turn all this back on. This is my original up here. I'm going to get rid of this stuff that we worked on. I'll move this out the way. I'm going to grab my original. I'm going to make sure it's grouped, and I'm going to tell it to go to the home corner. Now I'm going to turn off the blue and the black. That's output. Turn it off. And the output. I don't want it to output either. That's not the black. That's not the blue. There we go. There. That's what I wanted to do. Now my hole wasn't big enough, but if I leave my anchor point in the middle, I need to ungroup it so I can see just that circle. And 7 wasn't enough. I mic'd it. It was less than 7. So let's tell it 7.5. We'll only go a half a millimeter more. 7.5. With the aspect ratio lock, I just increased it by half a mil. And I'm going to go to my material or my art library and my Hobo and made in. And I need to put that on a different layer. We'll put it on the green layer. There we go. Put it in the center. And then bring it down to where I want it to be. And something don't look centered. Boy, I hope my circle's centered. It is. That just don't look centered. I guess it's the Hobo don't line up in the center of the circle, which my graphics, it's because the stick, it's right. It just don't look right from what I'm looking at. All right. Squirrel. All right. 810 and 708. And okay. Make sure I'm on 10 watts, not 30 watts. And I am. So now all I want to do is select these two, check my preview. That's going to cut the circle and do the engraving. I ain't really worried about the priority on this. Normally you would do your engraving and then the cut, but it doesn't really matter for this particular job. So I'm going to close the lid for the rolly. Rolly, 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 rolly. It's the rolly. And we'll hit start. Laser, laser, laser. You know what? Double check it. We'll frame it. And I like that height. I'm going to frame just the circle. And I'm using continuous frame. That looks good. That looks good. So select those two and start. All right, now let's go back and look for, while that's doing its thing, back. I love the rolly. Let's look for questions and comments. Brad, thank you, sir. God bless you, sir. I love the fact that you can do this with the rolling machines. I do it all the time because I'm always forgetting things. The rolly precision is second to none. The rolly customer support is second to none. Leo and Dimitri are some of the best people you'll meet in the laser industry. I can't say that about anybody else that represents it. When working with the clock numbers, section resize polygon to same height and width, so when they rotate, they don't need resizing. They're still going to, because of the way they align around the perimeter, the outer points are further out than the flat lines. There's still a difference with the way they're sized. Because I played with it a bunch of different ways. I kept looking at. I played with it 100 different ways before I landed on just, you know what, I'm going to do these one size and these the other size. And I'm curious, and I actually, having them be different, I think it's just going to add a little more character to the clock face. That's the beauty of doing this yourself. You can, don't do it my way, or use the technique and do it your way. There's no wrong way. Especially when you're talking about artistic stuff. If you don't believe me, look at a Picasso. Tell him he was wrong when he painted that ear on the face and what people are paying for that ear on the face. I wouldn't have painted it that way, but I'd love to have one hanging right there. Give me an ear on the face all day long, right there on the wall. Okay, homing has been fixed for the majority of the machines. Yeah, I have not uploaded 2.0.02 because I've seen people are still complaining about issues. And I'm like, okay, I'll wait. My laptop is pretty much like that. And I don't know that my laptop will ever, I may have to revert to 1.7 on my laptop because of my laptop's limitations, not because of Lightburn, but because of my laptop's limitations. I may only be able to use 1.7 on it. Oh yes, just anything to mark what was top, left, center, whatever, and face up. And this was, yeah, good idea. Always good idea. What is this new channel? Are you going to open? Intelligence Unmasked? Well, I'll talk about that when we finish this. I don't want to, because I did a little bit of market research, and there are a lot of you that would be interested in it, but it's a handful of you that have no interest in it at all, and I don't want to bleed the two together. But it's very, very interesting. I'll go over that at the end of this once we finish all the Lightburn stuff. This is Hobo with Wood Laserologist, and you are the Hobo Nation. So while we're here at Hobo with Wood, we're going to do Lightburn, but I will tell you about it. It is Personally, I find it extremely interesting and entertaining. I locked my honeycomb so 00 is home to duplicate what the Rolly does. Yeah, and but it's not just the locked honeycomb that makes the precision of the Rolly what it is. It's a big part of it. But the first, 4 or 5 machines that I had either didn't have homing switches, or even the ones that had homing switches weren't consistent with their homing ability. So the fixed honeycomb and having that repeatability of homing and having it in the exact spot every time makes the Rolly the machine that it is. I've got the Rolly and Lightburn 2.0, and I had an issue. Try to reinstall. Well, I haven't upgraded to O2 on this one yet. And if I do O2, it may fix that homing issue, is what Chris says. But right now, I know the workaround for it, and I'll wait till O3 comes out and see if they haven't got even more bugs fixed. I don't want to keep fighting bugs. If I find a bug and I find a workaround for it, I just deal with it until now I'll get the next version. And Chris says he just tested it, works for me, making them restrained in a square box size. And if you like the way it looks, and I could not get the end result to look the way I wanted it to without a little deviation. All right, it's done. Let's see if my clock mech will fit, and how well did the engraving do? The engraving is flawless. The clock mech I've hidden from myself. What I do with it? Where? There it is. Like a glove. Like a glove. All right. So let's see. Thank you, Henrik. Henrik is what? All right. Yeah. See, and I don't know what your currency is. Pretty sure he's in Denmark. Pretty sure. And when I see those wild currencies, there's some of them out there. It's like, wow, they gave you 500 somethings, and it turns out it was $5. Like, oh, okay, all right. Well, it's still greatly appreciated, whatever it is. And Henrik is a patron, so anything you did is pennies from heaven, and God bless you, and I thank you for it, sir. And it wasn't necessary either, but Henrik and I have an interesting relationship in Patreon. English is not his first language, and Danish is nowhere in my vocabulary. But with the beautiful tools of Google, he had told me that his English is good. And sometimes things get lost in translation. Say it in Danish. Use your Danish. Use your native tongue. I use Google and I translate whatever he said, and I type what I need to do and translate it to Danish and then send it back to him in Danish. So hopefully there's nothing lost in communication. Hopefully. So, well, excellent. Love it. Well, yeah, ain't nothing on this desk in plain sight. Nothing. All right, let's see. Hide that. All right. So I am going to. All right, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start assembling this. Anybody that wants to hang around and watch this, first while I'm assembling it, before I start assembling it, let's go over to the Lightburn forum because I can show you that, and then once I show you that, then I can come back and I can talk to you about other things while I'm putting this together. Do 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 do. All right. Google. No, there we go. Oh, and I got some great news. And for y'all that are still here, and the numbers have been pretty steady today, which is, I am extremely grateful for y'all and thankful for each of you here. But guess what? I got notification of today. Guess what's on its way? Anybody guess? Guess what's on its way? Do 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 do. See, Lightburn forum. Do do do. Ain't nobody guessing. Nobody knows what's on its way. Yes, there you go. The Cubico is en route. I have got my shipping confirmation. It is on its way, which means I've got a new toy coming, and I've got a new toy that I'm going to give away to one of the lucky viewers in the Hobo Nation. And what I've got coming is the Cubico CNC. In addition, and assuming that all the parts were available, because that was part of what their holdup was, is they didn't have all of the modules and accessories ready, and I ordered everything that could come with it. I got it all. So I've got the CNC with the more powerful spindle and a 10-watt laser module and the vacuum dust shoe for the dust collection. And I'm going to give all of that away. My hopes and desires were to give to give that away during the 3-year anniversary that passed back in June with not a lot of hoopla because I didn't have that here yet. So we're going to do a late 3-year anniversary party and give away that in complete setup. Somebody's going to get the CNC, the laser, dust collection, it's going to be a really neat prize for somebody. All right, Lightburn forum. So it's forum.lightburnsoftware.com. I'm going to copy that and put it in the comment field for you guys. Paste. It's in the stream. That's the web address for the Lightburn forum. It's not the Lightburn website. It's the Lightburn forum for sourcing problems to answers to questions and that kind of thing. But they also have a features suggestion right up here in the top. Features suggestion. If you click on it, and features, and then come down. You want to vote for a new feature or feature request explained. Vote for a new feature. Now that you're over here, you can look at all these features that people have already suggested. But if you're not sure, like what was it that somebody said, a repeat key? If I just typed in repeat, it's going to come in here and start looking for all of the new suggestions for repeat stuff. But Chris, what did you say that there was one in here already? and I may be looking right at it, but I'm trying to look at the comments. And repeat last partial cut, no. Repeat multiple repeat cuts with layer on or off, no. Auto feed. I would like to repeat last operation. There we go, right there. So somebody's already suggested it. And if we look at what their suggestion is, hi, like F4 works on Microsoft Office, I think it'd be really useful when I edit an object in the same way and I need to repeat this operation for another. Is this what you were referring to as the suggestion, Chris? Is that what we want to vote on? Okay, as well. Okay, it's a different way to do the same thing. Okay, so if this is what would accomplish what would save a lot of time, then you just come down here and click on vote for this idea. Right now, there's been 6 votes to vote this up. Vote for it. You log in and vote because you need to be logged in. Google and Hobo of Wood and continue. I don't need to leave any comment. Just vote. Yeah, it does. Okay. I like caps lock zone. I like this idea and submit. And if I refresh, we should have 7 votes. And I don't know why it's not refreshing. Vote for this idea. I did click on vote, didn't I? No, I didn't click. Did I? I don't know what I clicked, but there we go. I clicked voted. Voted. 7 votes. Voted it up. You need to. I thought I clicked on vote. Did it say comment to begin with? I missed it. But we got there. We got there. I voted and I left a comment. But Lightburn forum. And if before you go, and this is what's really crucial, guys, is before you go in and create or make your suggestion and put it, make sure somebody hadn't already suggested the same thing. And that's what's great about that search button. Type in, I just typed in repeat and it come up with a bunch of possibilities and I found it. Chris found it earlier and then I found it there too. And that way all the votes get, combined into one focused area. All right, so there was the Lightburn forum, and I shared that link in the comment field. We got the Cubico on its way. I mean, it's en route, and so I'll need to make plans. And guys and gals, I hate to tell you this in this time slot. This was a 3 p.m. time slot, and we got a good crowd today, and I'm thankful for each of you. I really am. I've said that already, but I can't thank you enough. But this crowd is always a little bit slight compared to the 9 p.m. And also because I know that a lot of you watching right now are not in the U.S. simply because of the cost of shipping. I hate to say this. I really do hate to say this, but I can only afford to ship this to somebody in the U.S. And honestly, if you were a winner and you were out of the U.S. and you said, I'll pay for the shipping, you know what? You could probably buy the thing as cheap or cheaper than the shipping from me to you would be. So this will be a giveaway that's only in the U.S. And because of that, it will be done in the 9 p.m. time slot. That's a bigger crowd, and I'm only shipping it in the U.S. anyway. So sorry to mention that, but it needed to be mentioned. All right, now I got that done, got that done. Is there anything else I needed to tell you about? before I start putting this together. A lot of channels are starting to buy and have the supplier do the shipping. Well, this one was done during the Kickstarter program. So, I guess that you could always buy it and have it drop shipped. But this, I bought this the only reason I can afford to even do this is I did buy it in the extreme early bird Kickstarter, and I was able to buy 2 of them for the price of 1. So I'm going to have mine that I would have paid full price for, and I get one that I can give away. So right now, for whatever one cost is what I was able to get 2 of them for. So that's the only reason I was able to do this. I done your memorial bench, and it's 100%, and it's for a friend. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, the memorial bench is really cool. And I did that for several family members, and I've actually shown it to the funeral homes. I do my flag nameplates. I engrave the really nice nameplates for the flag cases and give them to all the vets families. But I also showed the memorial bench to the funeral home because I thought it was kind of cool. That's where I've been gifting a lot of them. Is someone's passed, especially if it's around that time of year. It's the holiday season, Christmas, Thanksgiving. I make the memorial benches and say, look, here's a little memorial bench. They're not with us anymore, but you can still set a place for them. And they got a place to join us at the table. All right, let's put this together. What wood do you use on the flag cases and nameplates? One of the most popular is cherry because they use the flag cases from Hobby Lobby, and they have a cherry finish on them. So the solid cherry looks really good, but I use what I've got. And so sometimes they're oak, sometimes they're cherry. It's just a matter of what I got available. Because I do them for free. I give them away. And if I've got a bunch of maple sitting here, because I make them out of my scrap. I'll find a piece of scrap material that I can cut a piece out of. Let me see if I had one laying here. I don't have one laying right here. Which is unusual because I've got another here. Oh, here it is. This was the one that had the is it misspelling? I forget what was wrong with this one. But, it's just a 10-inch piece of material that's about 1 3/4 tall. And my hardwood strips, I'll find a piece that's got that much scrap in it, and I'll just cut that out of it. So since I'm giving them away, not being short or snarky, but I'm giving them away. They'll take them whatever I make them out of. All right. Got my little hardware kit for my clock mech. Will you start a new live stream for the Cubic? No. Well, I don't know. Because it's got lasering in it too. And the whole idea with Hobo with Wood when I started it was actually going to be a woodworking. It was never going to be just Lightburn. It was never supposed to be just lasering. But because I've got a big CNC, I got a huge CNC in the other room. But it was too hard to learn it wasn't too hard to learn. It was too expensive to learn on because it's so large. The material pieces I put down, I'm wasting big pieces of material when I screw it up. So I did not want to continue to waste that much material. I'm looking at which way how my stuff goes on. All right, rubber washer. Rubber washer goes on the mech. All right. Rubber washer on the mech. Slide shaft through the clock hole. Brass washer. There's a brass washer. Hex nut. So I don't know, because Hobo with Wood was going to be a complete woodworking channel, doing lots of stuff. And I can do different playlists on the Hobo with Wood YouTube channel. And one because I've got Lightburn, the deep dives, Lightburn tips. And if I start another one, that would be for mill mage, for CNC work. But I hadn't even thought about that yet. That's a really good question. It might be better off for all of us if I had another channel that just said, I don't know, Hobo with Wood does mill mage. I don't know. And I have a separate channel for the CNC. That way, because that's how I ended up doing this new channel I'm get coming that I'll tell you about. I decided not to incorporate it with Hobo with Wood. It is its own standalone channel. So I may do the same thing with the CNC, the mill mage, because you might, even though you don't have a CNC, you might enjoy watching it. It might encourage you to get one. But then again, you may have no desire whatsoever, and you don't want to see the alerts popping up for mill mage and CNC work. All right, so that's tight. That's mounted. Screw hex nut on the shaft. Do not over tighten. Well, I did it by fingers. Hopefully it's not over tightened. Slide hour hand onto the shaft. That'd be the big one, ain't it? No, the hour hand's the little one. Hour hand is the little one. Now it's got a different shape to it. Slide hour hand on the shaft and press down until it stops. Turn to the 12 o'clock position. But which side goes up? Yes. I'm going to push down till it stops. There we go. And it's at 12 o'clock. Align minute hand over shaft and press down until it stops. Turn to 12 o'clock position. Okay. Cap nut, do not over tighten. I've done this. It's just been so long since I've done it. I don't remember. All right. Sharing your knowledge or lack of internationally is good enough. Well, it'd be nice if I could afford to ship stuff internationally. I don't want to. I want to make sure I'm not missing any questions here. All right, looks good. All right, now let's get this nut on here. The nut is installing a nut. At least he's trying to anyway. Got big old sausage fingers trying to do this. It ain't working too good. I got it. Yay! All right. Now the second hand. Is that what it says? And then do a sweep and see. If adding a sweep hand, screw on minute nut instead of cap nut. I did. Do not over tighten. Press stem of sweep through the top of the shaft and press down until it stops. Turn it to 12 o'clock position. That'd be that. It's a little misshapen. So the new channel, the patrons have seen this because I shared it with the patrons already. Push, 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 push. And it stopped. Okay. I started a new channel this week because when I'm sitting here doing jobs like this today, I'm cutting all this out and getting everything ready for the live stream and also getting all the everything designed to thumbnail. So I'm busy today. But for the most part, I'm sitting here. If I'm not helping somebody with the design while I'm waiting on the laser, I'm sitting here, hee haw, hee haw. Well, I've started arguing with ChatGPT. I've been debating with ChatGPT. I'll pick a random topic and find out what its stance is on the subject. And then I will play devil's advocate and I'll pick the other one. I will, and then use logic to debate it. Not that I have personal beliefs in one stance or the other on some topics. Some topics I do. But whatever his stance is, I say he, it, and then I will use logic to disprove its original line of thought. And did I engraved my name in the wrong spot? Dagnabbit. I put my name there at the bottom when I wanted the 12 o'clock to be on the point. That's okay. It's going to be against the wall anyway. It'll be off just a little bit. Nobody will know when it's on the wall. So the channel is called Intelligence Unmasked. And in fact, just for giggles, switch. There's the channel. Intelligence Unmasked. And I've got a welcome video up there right now. And in addition to the Intelligence Unmasked on YouTube, I have a Facebook page, Intelligence Unmasked on Facebook. If you enjoy going down rabbit holes, and even if you don't, if you're one of those that you watch this stuff, and I'll go into the conspiracy stuff just to fight, to debate the conspiracy stuff. For example, is the earth flat? Did we go to the moon? Whatever ChatGPT says. In fact, I asked it, is the earth a globe? And it said yes. As a matter of fact, the earth is a globe and it's this and that. And it gives the whole speeds. And I'm like, talking about the heliocentric movement of the entire solar system as it travels through our galaxy, as it hurtles through space, and it goes explain all that stuff. And I said, okay, well, if all that's true, then how do you explain this? And then I'll give an example of, in this particular case, it was someone flying the SR-71 spy plane at 89,000 feet over Tucson, Arizona. He's over Tucson, Arizona, and he says he can see the entire western seaboard. Well, if he can see the entire western seaboard, if he can see LA and see San Diego and see Seattle from Tucson at 89,000 feet, and the Earth is curved, then it wouldn't be possible for him to see those things. The math doesn't math. It doesn't add up. So he's lying about one of two things. He's lying about seeing what he said he saw, or several things, or he may not have been at 89,000 feet, or there's a lot of, so then when I throw that monkey wrench into its gears, ChatGPT is like, now that you say that, so it went from, and I used logic and different debatable facts that are on the web. It ended up changing its mind. ChatGPT went from saying that, yes, the Earth is a globe. By the time I was through with it, it was saying, you're absolutely correct. The Earth is flat. And I just like winning an argument. I don't care one way or the other. It's irrelevant. All these people that get all bent out of shape and up in arms and want to argue about this or that, it don't matter. It doesn't matter if it's round or if it's flat. It's not going to make one bit of difference in what I'm going to do tomorrow morning when I wake up. All right, so that's assembled. Now my feetsies. But that channel, I encourage you, if you and I've posted a few things on the Facebook page, and I actually shared the summation from ChatGPT. Whenever it gave me that entire summation of a conversation we had, I copied that and pasted its summation into a post in Facebook, so you can see ChatGPT's response or summation verbatim. You might find it interesting, and I'm going to turn those into videos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Jack, I don't know if Jack's even in the stream today, but Jack pointed out, and the reason I'm doing this is because ChatGPT is nothing more than a web crawler. It is not intelligent. It doesn't have any intelligence. And what they have released to the public that we have access to definitely is not a learning module. It does not learn. It does not adapt or change. Because what I ask, whenever I'm having that conversation with it, I'm like, okay, and it reaches a new conclusion. And it says, okay, you're right. The Earth is flat. Your logic has changed my mind, and the Earth is flat. And I'm okay. That's how you feel now. Yes, after our discussion, I feel like the Earth is flat. Okay. Well, when Johnny logs on from across the street and asks you, is the Earth round or flat? What are you going to say? And it says, I'm going to tell him the Earth is round. I said, but you just told me the Earth was flat. Yeah, based on your logic and your reasoning, you've convinced me the Earth is flat. But you're going to tell Johnny it's round. What good was our conversation? You didn't learn anything, and you've only told me now what you think I want to hear. You're not intelligent. And then, no, you're right. I'm not intelligent. It is so I'm doing this to point out that it is it's flawed technology. And when you hear Elon Musk make comments about Grok 4. If you've heard this, he's released Grok 4, and he thinks it's going to be the greatest thing, but it's also one of the scariest things. When he talked about him releasing it, he used the word terrified or terrifying multiple times. He's, it is one of the most terrifying things out there, but at the same time, but it's going to invent new polymers. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. It's, well, how can it create new things if it's not intelligent? The definition of intelligence, was the ability to learn and adapt. But yet, whenever it came to a new realization with our discussion, it said, "No, I'm not going to memorize that, and I'm not going to change my output unless it's talking to me in that same chat." If I start a new chat myself and ask him, if I don't have memory turned on, because you can tell the chat GPT to remember your conversations so that it can respond to you and your queries based on previous conversations. But that's only for you. The artificial intelligence is not intelligent. It is simply artificial. And that's what I'm hoping to point out. And people talking about they want to use it for replacing teachers and how great the technology is, and it's going to improve the world and all. But no, I'm more inclined to think it's more like Terminator. If it was truly self-aware and truly intelligent, it could be a very bad thing. I'm going to go back up here and look at the comments while I've been rambling. There we go. Some of you saying already subscribed. Like I said, and it's one of those, it's for entertainment purposes only. This project is screaming color feel. Now, this one, once I put this all together and I don't have a finish on it, I'm going to take the hands back off of it and the clock neck back off of it to do the finish. I don't know that color fill is absolutely, or a color fill is necessary. But you know what? When you make yours, you can do what you want to, right? I'm going to try and focus on assembly here and get this put together as quick as I can. I'm out of my accelerator. What's Bob saying? If the world was flat, cats would have already knocked everything off the edge. Oh my goodness. I know all too well what you're talking about. I had a cat for almost 19 years. And that cat went through hell. I like that. It was flat, done. The optical horizon is identical to the radar horizon, except for radars that utilize atmospheric ducting, but that's another ball of worms. Line of sight. Yeah, I was looking into some, and it's funny. If you could see the chats, my chat history with GPT, some of you might think that boy is nuts. but I actually was talking about line of sight and to determine could you use radar as an argument for the flat Earth theory? What is the longest publicized distance that either the U.S. military and or private corporations have proven or tested? Lasers just being up, not necessarily energy or power or weaponized, but what was their advertised longest distance for transmission? And if they advertise, well, we were able to do this X number of miles, well, that's longer than what you say the curvature of the Earth that you publicize. You shouldn't be able to do that, but you say you did. So I went down a rabbit hole with different radars and Coast Guard ability, and also about GPS. Because if you don't believe that we ever went into space, if you believe there's a firmament above and you're not going out there, then yeah, they also argue that there is no International Space Station. There's no satellites, not geosynchronous satellites, and it is a fact that NASA is the largest consumer of helium, and they readily admit that they have a lot of I forget the term for it, but there's a term for it. It's the satellites that are in orbit are up. They're their own balloons, and that's not. I mean, they admit it. They launch satellites with balloons. Look at the Chinese spy satellite. There was just a big old balloon that come across the U.S. forever. Do. The link for the YouTube channel sends me to an email. No, that ain't right. Hello, YouTube. Intelligence Unmasked. This is not the vanity one. Copy, paste. So I just put the link from YouTube. It's not there should be a vanity one that's not an email, but I may have that set up wrong. So I just dropped a link for those that are interested. I dropped a link in the comments for the YouTube channel. And this is going to be a whole lot easier to put together than all of those random pieces. But if I get that math figured out and do it out of two different wood types with extremely contrasting grains, it's going to be so difficult to build. It's going to have a pretty hefty price on it. Almost. One more. One more. Now, I will tell you, whenever you do these, if you do these, when I did the slots in the design, I set everything up with 3 millimeter just as a starting point. But select your material before you go to your laser. Identify what pieces of your material are going to be used for which pieces of the design. And when you know that this material is going to be used for the legs, measure those. If it's 2.8, adjust your slots that you're going to cut out in your clock face to be 2.8, not 3.0. So if you plan in advance, you can really make for a really good, tight, snug fits. And then also think about your as you were, if you're going to do kerf or not. There's that, and got those. There we go. Whenever I do internal slots like that, I do not use my full kerf. Sometimes I don't do any kerf. But if I do, like on the Rolly, I will usually, depending on how tight I want something to be, I will sometimes use a 0.12 or a 0.11 outward kerf to increase how snug something fits. But on an internal slot like this one, it is super, super snug and tight right now. If I get this on there, I don't even need glue, really. I'm going to put glue on it. But I only did a 0.06. I only did half of the kerf. And the reason for that is because when you do an outward kerf on an internal slot, it's adding kerf to all 4 sides of that slot. So you've essentially, what was 21 millimeters, you've just reduced the length of it in addition to the width of it, because you've added kerf in all 4 directions of that internal slot. And that's not how this gets cut out. When it gets cut out, the length don't change, but you changed it here by adding kerf to it. So be careful with adding kerf to internal slots. You may find yourself having to do what I'm doing right now, and you're sanding down a slot a little bit with that tab in order to get it to go through the slot. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding. I wonder if Facebook, obviously they haven't yet, but that's, what is that, the theme to Jeopardy? If I did that too much, would they demonetize that? Say, oh, that's copyright, you can't do that. They haven't yet. In fact, let's go ahead and put the 12. Of course, it's the last one. I've got 6 possibilities, and which one's number 12? The last one. All right, let's see if there's any questions I need to address. Ding, 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 ding. Surface-mounted Mark I eyeballs can only see 24 miles before the curvature of the Earth blocks the line of sight. I don't know what Mark I eyeballs are, but that might be something for me to check out. No, absolutely don't. We don't have it. In fact, that was something that Jack also mentioned. Jack, I don't know, Jack might not have should have shared some of the stuff. He said something about he actually worked with some of the early testing and things with some of the different AIs. And the fact that, they're talking about needing all this extra power and power stations and all this stuff for uh, what I'm seeing with Chat GPT is, like I said, it's nothing more than a web crawler. It goes out there and finds what's on the internet really, really fast and just spews out the general consensus for what is already accepted and believed to be true on any subject. You don't get anything, at least I'm not getting anything any more advanced or developed from Chat GPT that I can't get from a typical Google search. It's just formatted in a very neat and nice package. But no, I'm sure. And then plus, I'm still using Chat GPT. I'm not, and I'm using their free stuff. I'm not using the stuff they're charging people for. Because I ain't paying for that. Do a small one. But the Grok 4 that's out there now, and then plus if you pay for it, you're getting something entirely different than the free people are getting. So no, are we getting the most advanced, the best? Mm-mm. But my whole premise is to challenge what people believe to be, oh, this is going to be, oh, it's going to make things so much, because they're students are using AI to write their papers, and the information is not always right, correct, or even close to accurate. And I'm just sending all these now because I know I'm gonna have to send them down. So I'm challenging the validity of it, and trying to show people that they need to rethink what they're putting their trust in. And I've said it before, I just like stirring the pot. I like to poke the bear. What glue am I using right now? I'm using Magic Chem's CA glue. It's what was on sale on Amazon. Because for me, CA a good CA glue doesn't matter if it's super glue or tight bonds or who's. Now for my wood glue, I only use tight bond. What glue do you sniff? Oh wow, 22 years old for your cats. That's amazing, man. That's the one thing that I'd love it if our pets had a longer lifespan and they were healthy. That lifespan, I hate it when they start getting older and feeble or frail. I had to make the less than desirable decision to put my little man down. He lost faculty of his body functions, couldn't control, and he knew it. He was miserable. And the night before I had to put him down, he was whining and crying, and came and jumped up in my lap in the recliner and just snuggled up with me, which was a little bit odd for him, being that he was, 19 plus years old. He was just an old fart. But he crawled up on the recliner and just snuggled up with me. And then he started to whine a little bit. And I could tell he was uncomfortable. And then he just peed all over me. He was hurting. He was not in a good place. And instead of me being selfish, I made the decision the next day. I made sure he had a really good evening and as well as I could, and made sure he had a really happy morning. And then I did what I thought was right. Not for me, but for him. And I just realized I did not rotate my numbers. I don't know. I may, because if I glue that up there now, I've got 12 and then 1. I didn't rotate the numbers. So 2 is going to be like that. 3 is going to be on its side. I could change the 3. I think I may stop with the assembly before I glue the numbers on. I can glue all the other on because I may want to do rotate that so that the 1 is still vertical. I can't change the alignment of the polygon, but I can just rotate how the position of the number. And I may do that. What do y'all think about that? Yeah, and I'm all too. In fact, I don't believe we ever went to the moon. I don't believe that. And part of it was the radiation from the Van Allen belts and the fact that, a 1977 or 1972 Volkswagen Beetle had about as much computer power as the Apollo modules did. I mean, they were, our smartphones have got more computer capabilities than those things. And to say that they went through those radiation belts with nothing more than a couple pieces of tinfoil around them, but I had family members that thought I was nuts whenever I was like, no, we never been. When they started doing the research and they ran into the radiation belts, everybody's like, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yep, I see what you're saying. Don't think. And the fact that everything's disappeared, they lost everything. They've lost all the technology. Not only have they lost the technology and the know-how, they can't repeat it. Really? You lost all the documentation, and nobody's smart enough to figure out how you did it to begin with. Got to do better than that. Got to do better than that. Gravity trains? Ooh, that sounds cool. I will have to look at that. Gravity trains. Because that's another one. Does gravity exist? I have all kinds of conversations with chat. I will push its buttons, literally. How long did the clock take to burn? I think this was with I did it with the 30 watt, and I think I did 2 passes with the black layer to make sure that since it's only just 2 lines, the pieces that don't have the spiral, I did 2 passes on that, and I did a single pass on the offset, but it was still an hour and 15, maybe. I think we can look at the preview and see, but it was over an hour. And that's what I'm saying. I'm sitting here for an hour waiting on this, and that's when I'll start arguing or debating Chat GPT. Questions and comments. If you sing it out of tune, is it still copyrighted? No, sir. They didn't. You won't get a renewal on that till we go see Dr. Torres, and we don't have an appointment for her until August the 28th. So no meds for that.
Still wait for that. It's
tough. It's tough. Be funny if you asked ChatGPT about our simulation theory. Oh. I've had family that were teachers and professors. If they can spot AI right, they shouldn't be teaching. I've had family that were teachers and professors. If they can spot AI right now, they shouldn't be teaching. I can spot AI a mile away. AI should give higher ranking for scientific publishing. Oh, now see, I see that, Chris. Nope. That because just because something is published and it's scientific paper, and I had a huge, and if you go into the Facebook page and look, I did a huge conversation with ChatGPT about Stephen Hawking and his theories and how everything's so widely accepted, and his theories are they're done. Whatever Stephen Hawking says is got to be true because Stephen Hawking said it. But they're untestable, they're unprovable, and they're just a random theory that cannot be proven. There's no way to prove it. But people just accept it as fact because he was called the smartest man in the room. Sorry. Ain't going there. Ain't going there. If you can't prove it. And that's what I challenge ChatGPT. It's like, okay, if I say something, if I make a comment or a statement, I want you to disprove me with facts, repeatable, because that's science. It's tested and repeatable. If it's not testable and not repeatable, then it's not science. We should make a fake AI that all it does is insult you for asking stupid questions, like Don Rickles. You get arrested for some of the stuff they used to say and do back then. Yeah, that goes. You ain't got a sense of humor. Comedy is suffered big time because of the political correctness. I hate it because I love a good insult comic. What's his name? Not Rickles. Something Black, I think it was. I love to watch him. You just go off on a tear. I love it. What are you glue? What you missed? What glue I'm using? Yeah, there's no gravity. Earth just sucks. I'm using the Magic Chem's super glue. I've got a couple different. This one is the medium thick, but I use some of their thin, some of their medium. But the only reason I got it is because that was what was on sale at time on Amazon. If I go and look again right now and it's not on sale, I ain't buying it. I'm only buying what I can afford, and that's the cheapest stuff that you can get. So if it's on sale, it's for me. But like I said, I do use my Type Bond for wood glue, and it's a little bit pricey. But for when I'm doing up wood glue pieces and I really want to make sure they're done, I ain't using anything else. But I've got these so tight that I don't even need super glue. And this is taking a lot longer because of how tight they are. But you're getting the idea. I will post, once I finish this assembly and get it a finish on it, I'll post this in the Hobo with Wood Facebook group and show you what the finished piece will look like. Because I think, and I'm going to watch y'all on down here. See here. Let's see. I just watched 2 AI generated videos on America's Got Talent. They were 2 supposedly different videos of a little girl singing about losses that had identical. Yeah. I used to like watching the AGT until I realized there's nothing about it that's reality. It's all fake. It's not so much that it's AI, but they're not random contestants. Of course, they're screened, but they actually bring, like America's Got Talent. You'll have people on America's Got Talent from UK and from China and from. What brings you to America's Got Talent? Oh, well, because they were on China's Got Talent and the producers liked them and it's good TV. And so they bring them over here and put them on this one. I don't watch it anymore. Yeah, Brad saying take a break. Yeah. It's tough when you wish every day went, but I wish every day mine were still, yeah. But a scientific published paper is peer reviewed. Doesn't matter. That has no value, no weight whatsoever on its validity. In fact, it even goes to my reason for not believing it to begin with, because, and this is the argument that I put up with the peer-reviewed papers that were accepted that Hawking published, because I went way down the rabbit hole with Hawking. I don't know if you've seen the video, or not the video, but the interview they did with Stephen Hawking back in the 80s, I think it was, at Cambridge, before he had his mechanical voice, before he had the computer voice. And he's got an interpreter standing there. And he'd make a sound, and that interpreter would spit out some scientific theory that was like, wait a minute, he just made 18 syllables and you just did a 4-page doctrine. I'm sorry, that ain't what he just said. And nobody's going to refute it because he's the smartest man in the room. And if I challenge him, then I stand a chance of being rebuffed, not only there and now, but discounted completely in that circle of influence. So I don't want to challenge what people are saying. Yes, I agree with the status quo. The peers don't challenge. No, it's got to be testable and provable and repeatable. And if you can't do any of that, then it's just a theory wrapped in bubble gum. A theory is an educated guess. It does not mean it's true. Just someone thinking out loud trying to work out what they think is the answer. Yeah, if it can't be tested, proven, and repeated, it's not science. In a scientific theory, theory doesn't have the same meaning as generally used. I know you are gluing, but how do you keep the legs from wobbling in this? Because the kerf. I don't even need glue on the. Whenever I cut this out, I designed that piece with a 3mm slot. If you were there and you watched, well, before I cut this out with a laser, I grabbed my mics and I measured these, and they were only 2.7 or 2.8. So I changed my slot size to 2.75 millimeters, not 3mm. So now when I slid those in, they would have stayed in there without glue because they were a tight friction fit. There's no room to wobble because I made the kerf. I made the slots right, and then I also did the adjusted for the kerf when I cut those out. So I counted for the material size and the kerf, and so they're tight as a bug in a rug. They ain't going nowhere. When I tell AI that they are just puppets, that's what I said, and just repeating someone else, they always say, yes, I can only give answers from others, and they have no ideas of their own. Yep. I'll call it names. I'll call it Donkey. I gave it a nickname of Donkey because it was, just a complete dumbass. There's your. I see it. Hey, Chris, can you ask Steve my question? I got skipped over. There's Desert. Steve, is there any way you can put? Is there any way you can putting videos of how you put things together with that product? As I bought a lot of digital files from you, and I can't find the video to help me see how you put. All right. Well, what is it? Which one are you having a problem with, Desert Flowers? Which file are you having a problem putting together? And I'll keep scrolling till I find your question, your answer. Peers are people who think the same way you do. Mm-hmm. Yep. The birdhouse. Okay. I think it's funny to let the grandkids have a conversation with the AI. They usually win. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember. Let me grab my birdhouse. Oh, all right. So the birdhouse. The birdhouse is not put together with slots and tabs. The birdhouse is put together with screws. And I talk about in the video the design video, how I took into account the thickness of the material. So I know how thick that backboard is. So I know how far that is down this side right here. So I know where I can put my screws. And I did use my laser to pre-drill holes where I needed to put screws. So they're screwed together. And then on the front piece, in fact, I pre-drilled down here, but didn't need to. This bamboo will slide out. And with that slid out and this one screwed together, and then in the hinge, that'll pivot up to clean out the old nest and ready for next season. But there's no slots and tabs. It's just a matter of everything's cut to fit together and then screw it together. Everything fits together nicely, but you got to glue it and screw it for the birdhouse. Is there something about that other than what is you used a hinge? Yeah, you glued it. If you glued it together shut, and you can't, if it's not hinged, you can't clean out your old nesting material, and depending on which ornithologist you talk to and which AI you ask, you should be able to get in there and clean that out so they build a new nest every year. All right. So done. All right. So I'm at the bottom of I've gotten caught up to the bottom of the comments. Is there anybody else got questions that I missed about this or anything else? Anybody? We're 3.5 hours in this. I'm going to keep putting this together. I'm going to finish it. But I'm going to have to go back and, well, I say I am. I don't know. But yeah, if anybody said, I didn't see it because I was looking for the exclamation points. Any of y'all that's still watching, what are your thoughts on the numbers? The problem with the numbers is I engraved everything with the number pointing to the top. So as it rotates around, then the 6 would actually be upside down, or I could flip it over, but the 5 would be upside down or sideways. Or do I just need to re-engrave all of those so that the numbers are upright? Would you put the numbers upright? What is the speed of dark? I tell you what, re-engrave. I think so too, Bob. I think I need to re-engrave those. I'll tell you something, and I would love to get this gentleman on the channel. My feedback on the clock has been to rotate the numbers. Yeah, okay. How did you darken the swirl? I've seen it both ways. How did you darken the swirl? I just did an offset fill. Yeah, everybody's saying redo the numbers. I didn't do anything special with the swirl. I just did an offset fill, Terry. Instead of doing an engrave fill, did an offset fill to save time on the engraving time. But I tell you what, who I would love to have. I know a gentleman that he's retired from the Air Force now. And I don't know what kind of plane he flew, because he can't talk about what kind of plane he flew. But there's been enough conversation, and I've said it. Here it is, 2025, and I said it back in the 90s and back. People are, oh, UFOs. There ain't no UFOs. There ain't no alien technology. Anything that's up there in the sky is us. And I said that back at Christmas when everybody was flipping out about the drones up on the East Coast. I said, it ain't nothing. It ain't enemies. It ain't China. It ain't a foreign. It's not. It's us. And then who did it turn out to be? Us. But whenever all the sightings were taking place back in the 70s, I'm like, it's us. I don't know what it is, but it's us. Turns out all those strange triangular shaped aircraft that were flying around everywhere that people were, it was our stealth technology. It was us. When we didn't know about our stealth bombers and stealth fighters until Desert Storm, until the early 90s. But we'd had them since the 70s. We'd had them for 2 decades. But they weren't public knowledge until nearly 2 decades after we had them. So whatever it is he's flying around in is not public knowledge. But there have been comments made at family gatherings, or he'd talk about he could take off from the middle of the U.S. continent and be over the Persian Gulf in minutes, not hours. They talk about all the, we just did the bombing over there to take out the nuclear capabilities. And they talk about it was, what was it? They said it was 36-hour flight or something. Well, he wasn't flying bombers. He was flying some kind of either spy planes, something. But they wanted a real world. They wanted to know what was going on in real time. He could be there in minutes. I'd love to know what kind of propulsion. I'd love to know what kind of plane. I'd love to know what kind of altitude he's at. But he can't talk about none of that stuff. And the stuff that he said, when he says what he says, he's not still in the military, and he's no reason to use misinformation. But I'd love to know what kind of capabilities we really got. And that's why I say this AI we're using, that's such a crock up. And people are putting too much faith in it. I think it's just another tool for them to use to promote their agenda, their tools, their ideas, their thoughts, and or to continue to divide us. Look how tight this is. There. On your bench, how is it to change to an anniversary one? How easy is it to change to an anniversary? On the be simple. Tell you what, Dave, I don't know. You're in the UK, so right now it's probably getting to be pretty late for you. What time is it for you right now? I've got 6:45 p.m. What is our time difference? Does that mean the aliens have broken their NDA? Well, there ain't no aliens, brother. There ain't no aliens. You say that funny, but I don't think we've got the ability now for teleportation. Not as we know it or think about it. But with all the ancient architecture that's all over the world in random places with so many similarities, that is one possibility that could explain it. One possibility of how you can have a pyramid in the jungles of Central America that look like the pyramids in the jungles of India would be if the same people built them. And how did they get across the world like that? Not necessarily through teleportation, but what if stargates actually existed or portals? I think that a lot of our technology has been erased. I think there's so much that used to be that we don't know about. And I don't know anything. I just speculate. I don't claim anything to be fact. I let Chat GPT do that, and then I challenge it. uh, we could have a theory about the type of plane your friend flew. I think I could have a pretty good evidence-based scientific theory. He flew a plane. So 12:30. So it's almost midnight for you, Dave. All right. So what I could do, Dave, what I would like to do instead of trying to go down a path of going with another design right now, because I'm about to wrap this up. I'm gluing the last piece on here before I have to re-engrave things. I'd like to communicate. I'd like to do a live stream with you at your convenience, because I sit here all day, every day doing this. I mean, I'm so bored. I'm arguing with a Chat GPT. Okay. So if you wanted to get together one day next week, email me at hobowithwood@gmail.com. Send me an email. Tell me what time and what day you would be available to get together. And then I can share with you a link that you can click on. In fact, what I'll do, if you want to, if you don't mind, I'll do that with my patrons, because I've been trying to get together with the patrons at least once a week and show off different ideas and concepts and how to do things. So this would be a good way to show, how do you modify an existing file without having to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just take something and make it unique and yours. Well, I hope I didn't just mess up. No, I didn't. Or did I? No, I didn't. That's right. There. All right. So it's starting to come together. Like I said, I'm going to take the hands back off of it, re-engrave the numbers, put a finish on it. Then I'll post it on the Facebook group as a finished piece. But if you'll email me what day, I'll tell you what I would like to do if we're going to do it for the patrons is either Tuesday or Wednesday, and it can be whatever time's convenient for you. And we'll do a live stream, and we can get together. I can pull that into Lightburn, and you can talk to me and explain to me exactly what you want it to do and how you want it to look, and then I can share with you the finished piece, so you don't even have to do it yourself. But I'll show you how to do it and show the patrons how to do it. No aliens? Have you seen my neighbor? It's like kind of like going and seeing. You go to our Walmart after the first of the month when people get their government checks. Woo! Yeah, they alien, all right. Let's see here. It does not take very long for all traces of civilization to be broken down. Well, Bob, thanks for hanging out. It's been a long one. I appreciate you and appreciate your support. Wednesday sounds good for me. All right. Well, won't you send me an email for Wednesday at what time Wednesday works for you? And I will set up a live stream and send you a link for that live stream that will stream only on Patreon and go through that design process and how to make those changes. Because then you'll know not only how to make it for the anniversary thing, but you can, whatever, any kind of mods or changes you want to do, how you can do that. So I'll look for an email from you for Wednesday at your time. You pick the time, and I'll just stream it, and because there's patrons from all around the world too. So, you know, any time it works for you, let me know. Which Wednesday, his or yours? He's in the UK, so his Wednesday is my Wednesday, ain't it? Because it's not midnight for him yet, so it should still be Saturday for him. In just a couple minutes, it's going to be Sunday for him. Yeah. And if your non-patrons want to see it, just sign up on Patreon. That's it. Become a patron, and you can watch how I do these things. And it's kind of like this right here. For the few of you that are still here, that have been here for a large part of the day, that's what the Patreon live streams are like. Is I'll sit down and we'll go through a whole. Don't normally do an assembly, but we'll go through the entire design process, start to finish. Might even just starting, and here we won't be doing it with the bench, but the last one we did was just an idea. The concept was for an 11 by 14 frame. I had the idea how it was going to go together, but we hadn't done any of it yet. And we designed, in fact, I had to do it twice because I screwed up. 11, we would work it out. So like, yeah, well, just send me an email that, send me an email with your time. Say, okay, I want to do Wednesday at 11 a.m. my time or whatever, London time or whatever, and I'll do the conversions I need to make. You just tell me what time for you, and I'll do the conversion, figure it out, set up the live stream, and send you a link. All right, I'm going to go re-engrave these numbers, finish this, and put it together, and I'll put it up on Facebook shortly. So, guys, gals, thank you all. 4 hours. Good God. Love you, appreciate it, mean it. I really do. And I will see you in the next video. Ciao for now. That's okay, Dave. Send me an email with your preferred time in your time zone. All right? Later.